Hello, just before we commence the meeting, I've just got some housekeeping to say. So there are no scheduled fire drills. In the event of the fire alarm sounding, please leave the room via the nearest available exits. There are fire exits located at the rear of the room and at the far end on this side and the far end on this side. In the event of a fire, please do not use the lifts, please use the stairs, which are shown, and via the signposted staircases. The fire assembly point, if required, is located next to the swimming pool in the car park. Thank you very much.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome members, officers, and members of the public to our meeting of Full Council North Northamptonshire Council. Before moving to the formal part of the agenda, can I clarify that for all items, apart from approval of the minutes, where a vote is required to be taken, this will be taken using the electronic voting devices. Can I also mention to you that there is a change of order from the agenda. This is in respect of item 8, and the second motion will be taken first. So the order will be motion 2, motion 1, and then motion 3. Okay, thank you. Right, can I ask if there are any apologies for absence? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Chair. I've got apologies from Councillors Waters, Bell, Carr, Deering, Edwards, Eakins, Harrington, Laura Lorman, Lavelle, Nicol, North, Partridge Underwood, Roberts, Smith Haynes and Jackson.
Thank you. Councillor Matt Keane.
Thank you, Chair. From the Labour Group, we have apologies from Councillor Pengelly, Councillor Riley, Councillor Sims and Councillor Zoe McGee.
Thank you. Councillor Fedorovich.
Thank you, Chair. From the Green Group, I have Councillor Tubbs and Councillor Best. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other apologies for absence?
Councillor Larry Henson.
Thank you. Do we have any other apologies for absence?
None, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Right, we move to item 2, minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any issues in relation to the accuracy of the minutes? Okay, I see no hands. I would like to move the minutes of the annual council meeting held on the 25th of May 2023. May I please see a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Mercer. May I please see those all in favour of the minutes? Thank you. Are there any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Right, item 3, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest that councillors wish to make related to any items to be discussed? Okay. Right. Councillor Hakewill.
Thank you, Chairman. I made important that I got the right declaration, so I've spent significant hours explaining how council processes work and sharing my knowledge about the history of the KLV, and many of those who are concerned about the future of the facilities and are present here today. So, I declare a personal interest in that I have been providing this support and advice to KLV users, but I retain an open mind in respect of all eventualities relating to what happens to KLV in terms of decision-making to be made. And I'm happy to give this to the committee clerk as to what I've said. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly Watts.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to declare a personal interest. In fact, I've been a member of Balance Gym for many years and supported the sport group.
Thank you. Councillor Lloyd Bunday.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the conference centre is a customer of mine, and after a conversation with the monitoring officer, I've been advised not to take part in the debate and to leave the room.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Thedwyn Brown.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to declare a personal interest as a member of Balance Health Club, and I remain open-minded in terms of any decisions that may be required to be taken. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tim Allabone.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Item 8, the motion number 1, it's a personal interest. I'm a farmer.
Thank you. Councillor John McGee.
Thank you, Chair. I declare an interest on motion 2 as I play squash at KLV. It's a personal interest and I intend to be involved in the debate.
Thank you. Are there any other declarations? Councillor Panday.
I'm a Balance member. I'm a member of the Balance Health Club, so I have a personal interest in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we okay? Okay, item 4, Chairman's announcements. I'd like to welcome members of the public to the meeting, including those asking questions. It's always good to see people attending, making statement, and those in the public gallery, as well as those watching online from home. May I please remind those in the public gallery, for your safety, to remain seated and to only stand when walking to your seat and on exiting the gallery. I would also politely request that when councillors are debating items on the agenda, that proceedings are not disrupted by talking or passing comment from the gallery. Thank you. My own announcements. The Vice Chairman is not able to join us for this full council meeting, and I'm sure we all send our best wishes to Councillor Laura Lorman for a full and speedy recovery from her operation. Personally, I've enjoyed a busy calendar of events over the past 4 weeks, attending engagements inside and outside of the North Northants Council area. Most notably was a poignant flag-raising ceremony in Kettering to recognise the start of Armed Forces Week. I was also privileged to attend an open day for a community-run library in Raunds, where I was able to speak with representatives of the many groups and organisations which are active within the library. The 2023 University of Northampton Changemaker Awards took place on Tuesday, and I would like to extend congratulations to all the nominees and award winners, particularly one of our local groups, Off the Street NN, who were the winner of the Community Award for their campaign to stamp out knife crime. This weekend, I will be honoured to represent NNC on Saturday at the huge Armed Forces Day parade held in Rushden, including the flypast. Whilst I already have dates in the diary through to February, I would be delighted to receive invitations from groups and organisations around the area who are hosting events in the coming weeks and months. So I look forward to hearing about those. Thank you. Can I now pass to the leader for the leader's announcements?
Thank you, Chair. Nothing to announce from the leader.
Thank you. Right, we now move to public participation. May I see the first speaker, Mr. Mitchell?
Thank you, Chair, for letting me speak. Right, should take me 2.5 minutes. I have time myself. A couple of weeks ago, I lost my temper in a meeting of Kettering Town Council. I'm embarrassed about it. It's against Nolan principles to act like that, and I want to apologise first and foremost to the residents of Kettering who elected me into that chamber. It took me a while to realise what it was that tipped me over that edge. It's because a member of your executive at that meeting said that they'd shed blood for the building, they'd shed blood for the theatre, and that they really did want to save KLV. But someone had once said to them, don't risk your political career for that building. That's why I lost my temper. That's what made me so angry I couldn't stop myself shouting, because the person who told you that was wrong. They should never have done that. They did you and everybody else in this building a massive disservice. If they'd said to you, don't risk your life, don't risk your family, don't risk your house or your health, I would be 100% behind them on that. They're correct. Don't do any of that. A job isn't worth it. But your political career, really? They were wrong, and I'm here to do exactly the opposite of that. I am here to... No, actually, I'm going to beg you, please risk your political career for that building. And I also ask it to every single other of the Conservatives who represented the old Kettering Borough Council areas. When Kettering Borough Council merged with North Northamptonshire, we handed over £34 million in reserves. Other areas had been on spending sprees. Other areas used their reserves to pay off landlords who'd been incorrectly imprisoned. KBC didn't. Kettering Borough Council was responsible. They saved the money and they gave it to the unitary. And how was it spent? Well, some of it was spent to pay for the costs, the legal costs of East Northampton's mistakes. Surely it's time that we should call in some of that money. I also ask it of the councillors of other different areas, councillors who have their own council-owned theatres and swimming pools that aren't crumbling. Don't deny Kettering's residents the services that yours enjoy and that we all pay for. Everyone pays the same amount. Well, not the same amount, but you know what I mean. They pay council tax. Because the thing is, it's not really the building that you'd be risking your political careers for in this. It's the people. It's the silver medal winning cheerleading squad. It's the Northampton Saints wheelchair rugby squad. It's Starlight Dance and the thousands of children who dream of performing on stage. The dozens of people who gave testimonials at St Andrew's Church about how much the gym means to them and what it does for their mental health. Surely that's what your political career is about, the people. Everyone who sits in this chamber, from executive member to backbencher, you're all temporary. All of this could come crashing down on a Friday afternoon in May 2025. What's real and permanent are the people and residents of North Northamptonshire. What do you want your legacy to be? In 20 years' time, when you look back on today, on tonight, what do you want the memory to be? Do you want to be remembered for looking out for the people who elected you? Or do you want to be remembered for looking out for the people on this front row who you elected and who they elected?
Excuse me, Mr.
Please
Mitchell.
support Councillor
Mr.
Hakeful's
Mitchell.
motion. Please ignore any whips that have been put in place and vote to save KLB. Vote to support the people of North Northamptonshire because that's who you're meant to represent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. May I see the next speaker, Ms Simper? And can I just remind you that it's 3 minutes?
Good evening. I'm Janine Simper and I'm the Head of Drama at Kettering Science Academy, where many of our students, including a Year 8 girl, are in the award-winning cheerleading squad, use the facilities offered by Kettering Leisure Village on a regular basis. If the building closes on the 3rd of July, it will be so detrimental to their physical and mental well-being. I took our first group booking since the pandemic to the Lighthouse Theatre on Thursday the 27th of April, and many of the students had never been in a theatre before. You can imagine how emotional some of them became as rumours spread of the closure that day, and they thought that may never repeat the experience. District and county primary and secondary school sporting events will also be impacted as KLV hosts a variety of competitions for the area. This safe and versatile venue offers a recreational space for our young people. And if it is no longer there for them, we risk having more teenagers aimlessly wandering the streets and potentially a growth of antisocial behaviour in our town centre. This evening, I'm also representing Anderson School of Dance, where I've taught part-time and both of my sons attend. The dancing school has been teaching children and adults, some of whom have become professional performers, for 20 years in Kettering, and the 20th anniversary show had been booked into the Lighthouse for July 2024. Where else can such an important event be staged in the area with only a year's notice? Other local stages aren't large enough for dance, their backstage space is too small for our number of students, and parents will be required to drive further for rehearsals and shows, which has an environmental impact too. Yes, the classes will still continue at the studios, but without a performance venue, what will these students be working towards? How will they overcome the stage fright and gain their sense of achievement when they have shone on stage and conquered those fears? Dance provides benefits both mentally and physically. My 11-year-old son was distraught when he could not dance during lockdown and the Anderson Lighthouse show was postponed. He missed dancing more than school. I appreciate that there have been negotiations behind the scenes to find a solution to keep KLV open, which we will not be privy to. As I suggested to Kettering Town Council, if we have an overall operator, the facilities could be divided with experts running each section of the building. Northamptonshire Arts Management currently run the Royal, Derngate and the Core Theatre in this building. Could we not negotiate with them for their portfolio to include the Lighthouse, have the venue's programmes coordinated and not put them in competition with each other? I'm aware that keeping KLV open will have logistical and financial implications for North Northamptonshire, but surely these are outweighed by the vast benefits that this facility offers to so many. Please don't let the acronym cease to stand for Kettering Leisure Village and deteriorate to Kettering Lacks Vision. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I please see the next speaker, Mr. Kingsley?
Firstly, thank you to the Leader of the Council and this body for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. My personal connection to KLV is I play squash there. It has 4 great glassback courts, a welcoming club that runs weekly club night, has 3 teams that represent Kettering against other clubs in the county, and I coach the juniors every Sunday. The courts are busy with 800 to 1,000 bookings every month. I was devastated to hear the news that it may close, and it only got worse when I heard the stories from others who used the site. You will have heard about the cheerleading squad who only just came back from winning a silver medal in the US, and soon they'll be without a home. Or the best wheelchair rugby team in the world who have now lost their training space weeks before the start of the new season. But you won't have heard from some of the individuals whose quality of life will be shattered if the doors close. In a survey of over 400 users of KLV across 27 postcode sectors in Northamptonshire, one person said, "I'm a partially sighted person and I feel very comfortable using the gym and pool as I know my way around it. I don't think I could join another facility as it would be too much for me to get used to. This is my social life and it would be devastating if I lost it." Another said, I am disabled and I love Balance Swimming Pool as I can enter unaided and it's warm for me to exercise my arthritic joints. The Kettering pool is too cold and the hoist is not working. In the same survey, 2 in 3 of those in retirement age told us they would be unlikely to exercise to the same level if KLV was closed. And it was more than that in those who reported themselves as disabled or neurodivergent. But this isn't just a loss for Kettering, it's a loss for the whole county. In the recent visitor economy strategy produced by the NNC, the county's meetings and conference sector is underdeveloped in relation to our neighbours and has potential for development. Losing Kettering Conference Centre would only push us further behind our competitors. Tonight, I feel a sense of duty to all the users of KLV to demonstrate what the site means to us and its potential. It's the same sense of duty you have to the voters who put you in that chair. Bluntly put, the duty for value for taxpayers' money. To the councillors of Corby, I know you had your council squash courts closed. To the councillors of Desborough, you also had your squash courts closed. If KLV closes, then the only pay-to-play squash courts in the whole of Northamptonshire will be in Wellingborough and Rushden. Value for money is not leaving the county threadbare of places for sport, community and culture. The story of Kettering Leisure Village should be one of community and triumph, and it still can be. Like the motion, I am calling upon the council as the head leaseholder of the site to step in and keep the KLV open whilst a sustainable long-term future is secured with the help of people and organisations for the benefit of the wider economy and North Northamptonshire. Thank you.
Thank you. May I please see the next speaker, Ms Hawkes?
Evening, everyone. I'm a resident of Kettering, and all my family live in Kettering and have done for all our lives, basically. And Kettering matters to us. And I'm also here to speak for my daughter and son-in-law who work at Kettering Leisure Village and have done for 12 years. And it's their second home, it's their second family, and they absolutely love working there. Some of them have worked there for 30 years. It's not just a job, it's part of their lives. And they've not had a voice with the decisions that are being made. They were blindsided and shocked at Compass closing the venue. There's lots of volunteers that give their time and their effort and enjoy doing that. And across the whole of North Northamptonshire, there's going to be loss of like the local community. There's going to be loss to the wider community, because when they've got big events on, other venues are being used, such as hotels, shops, local food outlets, and if the venue closes, that's not going to happen. So Kettering is going to become a much lesser place if we lose this venue. I listened to the YouTube video of the meeting that was about tourism and the consultation that was taking place, or did take place, and they said that this area is the best area for access by road and rail. So surely we need to deliver services that are able to make use of us being the best area for people to travel to. Up until now, people's mental health has already been affected by job losses. There's been no decision made. There was supposed to be an update last week. Well, the update was there was no update. I have many questions that I can't, obviously, I don't have the time to discuss here. I don't have all the answers, but surely together we can answer the questions and come up with some positive answers for KLV and the surrounding area. There are lots and lots of houses, I mean thousands of houses are being built very close to the leisure village. Where are they all going to go? What amenities will they have? So that's me done. Thank you.
Thank you. May I please see the final speaker, Mr. McCrory. Although Mr. McCrory is not a resident of Northamptonshire, I have exercised my discretion to allow him to speak due to the importance of Kettering to the surrounding area with wheelchair rugby.
And first of all, Madam Chair, I would like to thank you for doing so. That's very much appreciated. Just before I do get started, please indulge me. Hands up, anybody up there and down here who knows someone is disabled in your friendship circle or in your family. Yeah, that's not surprising. Thank you for indulging me. I would like to express my gratitude for giving me the opportunity to speak at this evening's meeting. My name is Jerry Mack, and I am the captain of Northampton Saints wheelchair rugby team. I wanted to bring to your attention that the immediate closure of KLV, where our team has been training, this came as such a shock to us all, as it was the only venue in Northampton that met all our requirements as a club, including disabled parking, accessible toilets, showers, and everything being on the ground level. We are currently the league champions, premiership champions, and we've been classed as the #1 wheelchair rugby club in the world. We have been searching for a new venue, but we have not been able to find one as such that meets our needs. As we are in the middle of trying to retain our Premiership Championship title, we urgently need a new training facility. The Saints has big plans to make KLV our flagship, our home, and now those dreams and ambitions are quickly slipping away from us as we find ourselves in limbo land. I understand that the Council have big plans for the future, including slogans as, for the Kettering people, like, live their best lives, be healthier, fitter, and to have good access to the arts and entertainment. I want to emphasise that all of the above take place every day at KLV with people from every aspect of our community. Our club provides fitness, well-being, social interactions and friendships that would have never ever been made if we hadn't started Northampton Saints Wheelchair Rugby Club. Now our members face a very upsetting future with no plans to call home or train. I hope that I can bring back positive news to our club members sometime soon as they continue to live their best lives, be healthier, be fitter, and continue to have social interactions and make friends. This is something they, as I said before, they would have never been fit to do and will not be fit to continue if we cannot find a new training facility if KLV closes. And just before I wrap up, it's not on here, Madam Chair, and I please forgive me because it's just come to my mind. I am a motivational speaker. I struggle to write things down because everything comes from here. I am going to speak to every member in this room, and what I'm going to ask you is there's always comes one time in your life that you have to park this and work with this. It has to happen every now and again in your life. Should it be in relationships? Should it be in your workplace or in your friendship circle? I will not beg. I've never begged for anything in my life, and I'm not going to now because it's embarrassing for me and it's embarrassing for you sitting there listening to it. But I asked you, let your heart do the talking, not your minds. Give KLV another chance. Give this community another chance, and I guarantee you we'll make profit in that place. Madam Chair, once again, thank you for using your discretion, and thank you for letting me say it a little bit. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention and the way you listen to me. Thank you.
Well, thank you to all our speakers and for coming along today and giving us your comments. Thank you. We move on to public questions. There is one public question on this occasion. A copy of the public question has been circulated. Please may I request that the questioner read out their question as submitted, and you will then receive a response to your question. You will be invited to ask a supplementary question based on the response provided. Please ensure it is a question, not a statement. You will be provided with a response to your supplementary question, or when necessary, a written response after the meeting. So may I please see Ms. Shenna Garner to ask her question.
Thank you. Given the climate and wildlife emergencies and the need to reduce emissions and increase food security, will this council agree to ensure that all food and drink provided and promoted at future internal events are those with the lowest impact on the climate and the environment, as other councils have done so?
May I please see Councillor Harriet Pentland to respond.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Ms Garner, for your question. Northamptonshire Council is committed to being carbon neutral by 2030. In order to do this, we will consider all opportunities to reduce our carbon footprint through our own activities and that of our supply chain. It is rare for the Council to provide food and drink at Council events, but where we do so, we will certainly consider all viable opportunities to reduce the environmental impact of the food and drink on offer, whilst also considering the importance of supporting local producers and catering businesses and providing for different dietary needs.
Thank you. Ms Gardner, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, please. Thank you for your response, Councillor Pentland. Would you or any of your fellow councillors be willing to meet with me to discuss this further?
I would be happy to do so.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your question, and thank you, Councillor Pentland, for your response. Okay, we move on to item 7, executive presentations. I believe there are no executive presentations on this occasion. Okay, thank you. Right, we move on. Sorry. Just give a moment. Okay. We'll move on to item 8, which is motions on notice. Thank you, councillors. We have received 3 motions on notice as printed on your agenda papers. Please note that I expect all contributions to be concise, and please respect the time limits that apply. A mover of a motion has up to 5 minutes maximum. All other contributions are 3 minutes maximum. Thank you. And can I please take motion 2 as the first motion? Councillor Hakewell, would you like to move your motion?
Thank you, Chairman. My motion is, this council values all the opportunities provided directly or indirectly for the benefit of residents' health and well-being across Northamptonshire. In particular, this council welcomes the economic benefits for Kettering and the wider regional area of having a premier national conference centre combined with public sporting and theatrical venues, commonly known as the Kettering Leisure Village, the KLV. The KLV's continued public and private availability on a long-term sustainable basis is critical to the well-being of all residents, along with the wider economic prosperity of Northamptonshire. We call upon this council to take similar action to its predecessor authority, Kettering Borough Council, and to step in to keep the KLV open, whilst a sustainable long-term future is secured with the help of local people and organisations for their benefit and the wider economy of Northamptonshire. A viable business case needs to be urgently created and a budget agreed prior to the advised closure date of the 3rd of July. There is my motion. At this point, Chairman, I would like to say that I would like a recorded vote on this motion, and I would like to ask colleagues if they believe that there should be a recorded vote so everyone can see how everyone voted. I'd like to call for that now. And I note that that recorded vote, enough colleagues have concurred with that. So, Chairman, I'd like to say thanks to Clark, Janie, Alex, Julie and Jerry. I hope, yes, they are all up there still to be able to listen. And to Janie, I would say, in July 2024, the Kettering Leisure Village should be the venue for that children's event. And that's what we're about tonight, to make sure that this facility remains open. Why am I standing here proposing this motion? I'm sure people might ask that. Because when the news of this crisis became clear, residents wanted to reach out for help and leadership. They wanted someone to have their back, as we've already heard. Someone to find a way through the disaster and return things to normal. In fact, not just normal, but better leisure facilities and options than in the past. They reached out and waited for the political leadership team in this room tonight to take up the challenges posed by the closure notice. And they waited. And waited. Indeed, we are still waiting to understand what the leadership strategy is for recovering the situation at the KLV, for the regaining of confidence of the community and those who book the Lighthouse Theatre, Arena Sports and other facilities. Chairman, there have been 3 opportunities, 2 executive meetings and 1 executive advisory panel meeting, where this administration could have put this crisis on the agenda. And we waited, and did they? No, they did not. Embedded from the original construction of the KLV in the early 1990s is Kettering's dry sports facility, moved there when the drill hall, built in 1932, was demolished. Subsequently, the demolition of the McKinley Theatre meant that Kettering's Theatre, the Lighthouse, was created at the KLV. In these venues that are there for the benefit of the people of Kettering and beyond, given and financed in part by the public purse and the people of Kettering, to provide facilities to compensate for the ever-increasing number of houses that we as a council pass through our planning. The case for the KLV, 30 years on from 1994, is much greater today than it was then. So, Chairman, I realise I'm coming to the end of that time. I sincerely hope that every councillor will back this motion and demonstrate to the many people here tonight and watching that we are serious in providing facilities for enjoyment and health of the community. And I sincerely hope we won't have any silly games. This motion has been available for 10 days and that it will pass through without messing around with amendments to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. May I see Councillor Kelly Watts to second the motion?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to second this motion and reserve the right to speak later. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have a number of speakers wishing to make comment. Can I call on Councillor Helen Howell, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to propose an amendment to the motion as presented. But first, I will give the reason for that amendment. I want to make it very clear that this administration is fully supportive of the desire to keep Kettering Leisure Village open. Councillor Smithers, myself, our interim chief executive, our legal team, our properties team, and many other officers have been working non-stop since the announcement from the operator that they would be closing KLV. We've been negotiating with the operator and contractors to find a way forward and to keep KLV open. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank them all for their support in our endeavours. Due to the confidential nature of the negotiations, it's not been possible to keep everyone up to speed as much as we would have liked to. And I appreciate it's extremely frustrating for everyone. But as I said, these negotiations are ongoing and are conducted under the strictest confidence due to their commercial sensitivity. Whilst it seems like the easy option is for NNC to step in and save the facility, it actually isn't as simple as that. For clarity, NNC do not own the building. I will say that again. NNC do not own the building. We also do not have a direct contractual relationship with the contractor who's been delivering the service. There are a number of contracts in place between the parties, and these are legally binding. Our obligation is to provide a grant to the operators of KLV for the provision of leisure services in certain parts of the facility. This is how it works with other facilities throughout North Northants. With all this said, and having an understanding of the contractual obligations, we consider the motion to be relatively sound. However, we would like to make some minor amendments to the last paragraph to strengthen the motion and ensure that any intervention from NNC has been properly considered by officers and members and is considered viable. Considering the legal complexities, we must understand the legal implications, and that's including best value obligations. We must also ensure that any decision does not risk the Council's financial position. This Council has a good reputation for strong governance and robust financial management, and whilst we are all united in wanting KLV to remain open, it is irresponsible to bring a motion forward without consideration or understanding of the legal and financial cost to the taxpayer of North Northants. We heard many times across the chamber of the importance of scrutiny, and we have always been clear that it is welcomed at North Northamptonshire. It would feel wrong, therefore, for such an important decision and business case not to be considered by the relevant scrutiny committee prior to the executive making a decision. I appreciate that this will mean that the decision will not be made prior to the closure, but the administration believe that it is important that we have robust decision making and challenge. Therefore, Madam Chairman, I propose this amendment to replace the last paragraph of the motion. A business and legal case which considers the viability of stepping in needs to be urgently created and scrutinised through the formal scrutiny process before being considered by the executive, following which, and if required, a budget should be agreed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So we need a seconder for that amendment. Okay. We need a seconder for that amendment. Councillor Pandey.
Thank you, Chair. First thing, let me start with saying that we all are here together to save KLV. Our only motive is to save KLV and ensure that it is working and serving our community. So I would like to thank all of you for coming here, in coming all of the meetings which we had. Maybe you did not get a lot of information because we were working on the solution, what solution could be there for us to keep it open for the long time. I thank all the volunteers, especially the member of the core support group. They have been working tirelessly, distributing leaflet, coordinating, answering so many questions to the member of the public. So we all know that KCC is very important for our community. It would not be wrong if I say that it is our second home. I have been member of Balance Gym for many years Recently, my wife and daughter also joined the Balance Gym. So many of us would have used Lighthouse Theatre with our children, either performing there or as an audience. Many of our friends, I know many of my personal friends, their members, family members work in Balance. They all are worried. What if they lose their job in this hard time when we are going through this economic crisis? Losing job is the worst thing can happen. As I know, many of the employees and the contractors, they have already moved out from KCC because they not have any certain answer what is going to happen. This KLV was providing them help paying for their bills and their mortgages. We do not, and also I would like to say we do not have any such facility in our neighborhood. If we have to go for the swimming, that is also going down. If we want to use any facilities, either we'll have to Corby or some other town we'll have to go. And that is not good because we'll have to drive, we will be causing CO2 emission. That is against our NCC policy. So what we want KLB to be operational. Together here we are to ensure that we are here to save and find a solution. I'm seconding this motion because I believe that will strengthen the original motion of Councillor Hakewell. And is this motion do all second the amendment, seconding the amendment because I believe that is going to cover all the legality of the amendment motion. Today we are going to find a solution, and I hope KLV will be saved. What comes after that? That is going to be interesting. Once it's open, I don't want it to come.
I'm sorry, but you've exceeded your time.
Okay, can I have a few minutes? Yeah, so we want all of you to still get engaged with the Balance and the KCC to make it a vibrant place. Just don't leave it after once it's operational. Thank you for your support.
We've had an amendment proposed and seconded. Councillor Hakewell, are you happy to accept that amendment? He doesn't need to accept it. Oh, right.
No, I'm not, because first of all, I can't see it or read it, as Councillor McGee has said. I posted this motion over 10 days ago. 10 days have passed that it could have come forward. I see this as playing games with what we're doing. But I would like some form of legal clarification that no one in this chamber would be accepting what I've got down there. A viable business case needs to be urgently created and a budget agreed. It goes without saying that would have to go through some form of scrutiny. I'm not saying it goes to executive. Therefore, I think this is just fiddling around the edges, and I don't think this motion stands weight because it asks for nothing more or less than mine does. And I would like to know why we don't have it written on the table where dozens of people are here to listen, people are watching on the video screens, and we don't have this motion in writing in front of us that we're now supposed to accept. So first thing I would like, and this is a point of order, is to understand exactly why it took so long to bring it forward, and secondly, what it actually does to mine. I think mine remains the same.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Hakewell. So in terms of the amendments and whether it should be in writing, the mover of any amendment may be required to provide a written copy of said amendment to the Chair prior to any debate on the amendment. So it is with you, Chair, whether you would like a short recess so that we can print that and we can provide it to all members to ensure that they know what they're voting from. So we can absolutely do that. In terms of the amendment, so an amendment must be relevant to the motion, which it is, and it can either leave out words, it can add words, or it can insert or add words, so as long as it doesn't negate the motion. In terms of this, we're still saying that we're stepping into KLV, and it's still asking for a business case. It is just adding words to that motion. So it would be valid under the Constitution. So in terms of that then, it would be just around whether we need that printed amendment, and that's with you, Chair.
Okay.
So if you've got it in digital form, just to put it on the screen and then we can see it and save time.
I'm looking at my colleagues to the left and they're nodding, so I think that may be possible, Councillor.
In the recent past, when this group has put a motion forward or an amendment, it's been demanded that we have it in writing, and we've stopped in doing that. So it seems, Chair, that there's one rule for that lot and a different rule for this. That's not democracy.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, I think we will have a 5-minute adjournment to allow the motion, the amendment to be printed and handed to people. Thank you. So meeting adjourned. Can I call members of the public in the gallery please be seated? That's for your own safety. Thank you. Okay, thank you. We'll re-adjourn the meeting. Can I pass to Councillor Howell to give an amendment, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to make a change to the amendment, please, and I'd like to add on the end of the amendment that I made earlier, by the 3rd of July 2023, and I think you're going to put that up on the screen, aren't you? And that's the last sentence on the screen. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Panday, in view of that amendment, are you happy to second?
Yes.
Thank
I'm
you.
happy.
Has everybody had an opportunity to read that? Yeah, yeah. Okay, we'll move on with the debate, and I'll move to Councillor Fedorovich to make your comments.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm just going to sit if that's okay. It's without question that we all want to see KLV stay open and see the community continue to enjoy these facilities. It's very, very important to so many people. We've been put in a bad position by the current leaseholders, and from this, our community has been put into a horrible state of limbo. A limbo that every day has lost KLV money, caused redundancies from the uncertainty, and turns hundreds of people's lives upside down. NNC's role in situations like this is first and foremost to be a connector, a convener to bring people together. However, it's only in this last week that the members of the community, with their knowledge, passion, business plans and investors, have been connected with Phoenix. We've had a huge amounts of time to do this connecting, and it's happened right at the last minute. And quite frankly, that's just not good enough. That's not fair on the people of Kettering who've been saying this from the start. We are here. We have the energy, the drive, the potential investors to keep this site running. NNC have not harnessed that power of the people, and we've not convened, or we've not convened soon enough. We may get some surprise announcement today, or we might have some potential amendments that potentially look interesting. But even if we do, that doesn't help the many people have been waiting for this and have been left in limbo, and their lives have been in anguish and uncertainty for the last 2 months. The jobs that have been lost in the meantime, the businesses that have gone and will be incredibly difficult to rebuild. From where I'm sitting and from when the public are sitting, there has been no clarity, no transparency, and those who needed to be convened have not been. The people deserve proper respect, to be listened to, and for their contributions to be valued. If that were the case, I believe we would have had a resolution on this much important matter much earlier than now. Having good leisure services in our town is not a political issue. It's something all of us want and know we need. We know the value of this site now and for the future of Kettering. Our future railway developments itself all hinge off a thriving KLV. It's imperative for our county that KLV stays open. And I really do hope that we can find some form of this amendment or motion today, that we can get something agreed by the 3rd of July. Frankly, speaking on the amendment, I don't know how we can get a formal scrutiny process in time. That's probably a legal question. But if we can do that in time and it can be scrutinised and you can find that time in the budget before that date, we have to stop this closing. If those doors shut, this will be extremely difficult to pull back. And we all know that, I think. So I very much support the amendment, whatever form of this motion that goes through. But I do think we need to make sure that this happens before the 3rd of July so that these people in the gallery have some certainty. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dell.
Thank you, Chair. As we've heard, KLV is such an important asset to Kettering. As a kid growing up in Kettering, I remember the excitement around it opening and the joy found playing in the old fun pool with the wave machine, skating on the ice rink, running around the Laser Crest, and I think I even saw the Manic Street Preachers play there sometime in the noughties, if anybody can remember that. Now the KLV has changed a lot over the years, but my point is that KLV has become part of Kettering's history. As well as that, we've also, as we've so eloquently heard, a hugely important facility to so many sports, organisations, groups and residents. Most recently, I've attended many shows at the Lighthouse Theatre, and considering Kettring's own James Acaster sold out for 4 nights at the Lighthouse in under an hour in March, I refuse to believe the theatre is not profitable. The majority of the councillors in this room were there 2 years ago to see ourselves elected onto this very council, and I was also there at the Arts Centre meeting to hear, as we have heard tonight, just how much need and passion there is from the community to save KLV. And it's to our shame as a council that we've been so quiet about the potential future of the site. I begrudgingly support the amendment. I'm not sure it was needed, but we do need to work together to secure the future of Kettering Leisure Village for the people of Kettering and North Northants. Save KLV.
Thank you. Councillor Griffiths, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Well, thank goodness that Councillor Hakewill put in this motion, because we've made considerable progress. The vision of this council states that this is a place where everyone has the best opportunities and quality of life, a place where we will help people live healthier, more active, independent and fulfilling lives. A place where we will care for our young people, providing them with a high-quality education and opportunities to help them flourish. A safe place where we promote a thriving and successful economy that shapes great places to live, learn, work and visit. How can this council, if they are serious about this vision, allow KLV to close its doors and let down so many people of all ages in Kettering and North Northamptonshire? My family are closely involved with the local arts, including Kettering Operatic Society and Wellingborough Technical Players, and indeed amateur dramatics across the whole area. Young people and actors of all ages have contacted me to do my best to speak up for them and help keep KLV open. My son attended Latimer Art College, and past and present pupils are appalled with the potential loss of this facility. They know that I and a number of Wellingborough-based members of this chamber have experience in both saving a theatre and investing in sport and leisure. Listening to what Janie, Alex and the other speakers said earlier, all are spot on about the importance that KLV plays in shaping the lives of young people and improving the mental health and well-being of all of our residents. And Madam Chairman, leisure and tourism isn't just about Rushton Lakes and Chester House. North Northamptonshire and its businesses need an exhibition centre, and all the facilities and more that KLV provide. So what should happen? With the agreement of the owner, take KLV back in-house. Involve the whole council in all future discussions over the future of this hugely important facility to prevent what happened tonight. Have a proper tender, an operator is out there. Improve the on-site catering. Get a major restaurant chain on board. Consider having a KLV lottery to help the ongoing funding. Use the lake as a leisure facility. Work with All Sport to make this venue a flagship for sporting excellence. Improve the building. Promote the installation of solar panelling to help with the energy costs in the way that other councils up and down the country have. We in Wellingborough found a very successful operator for the Castle Theatre and improved our leisure facilities at the Wendell and Redwell Leisure Centres. All are thriving. As I've said before in this chamber, listen to your residents. Think outside the box. Put party politics on the back burner for a change, and if you have the will, then we will find a way to save KLV and not let it close. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Right, can I call on Councillor Anne Lee to speak?
Thank you, Chair. Allow me to start with a quote. Whether it's the thrill of elite sport or less competitive ways of moving about, getting active is a tremendous addition to people's lives, and I hope to see further improvements in the future. That was Councillor Howell's comment on the news published this month that adults in North Northamptonshire are increasing the amount they exercise, with 6 in 10 now classes as active, which means meeting guidelines of doing more than 150 minutes of exercise each week. Until the public meeting in the Kettering Arts Centre in Kettering, few people realised quite how many activities are taking place in Kettering Leisure Village. The theatre, the pool, the gym, sports arena, the squash courts, conference hall. So far, and there have been references to confidential negotiations, It's just been a case of throwing crumbs at the action group. I don't think they've been kept fully informed, and the fact that not all councillors were allowed to attend these negotiations made it political. Any cost-benefit analysis will demonstrate that Kettering residents have everything to lose and nothing to gain from KLV closing. NNC is currently creating a vision for 2050, while any vision for the future should include a policy for leisure, recreation, culture and health, and we do not have these policies at the moment. Northants Sports organised their winter school sports competition in Kettering Leisure Village, and this morning one of their employees told me she has no idea where else they could hold that organisation. Our executive director of Adults, Communities and Wellbeing has spoken about the Purple Pound in that meeting about tourism. And yes, we very rarely talk about disabled people, the needs of disabled people in this council. And Kettering Leisure Village meets their needs fantastically well, as has been explained by Gary here. We really need to save KLV, and the plan that's been put forward seems as if it's been spun out just to make sure KLV will close, and it will make it harder to turn around. Can I say it's a shame that so many Kettering Conservative councillors are missing tonight when we're discussing such an important issue.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly Watts.
Thank you, Chair. I've been a councillor since 2007. This is by far the most serious and worrying situation I've ever been involved in, with so many people, groups, teams, schools, organisations, businesses, not to mention employees, all angry and worried sick about the possible closure of Kettering Leisure Village in only 11 days. I'm asked hour by hour, as many other councillors no doubt are too, including the councillors sitting closer to the front in this room than I am, and the 5 not here tonight. They ask what's happening and what the outcome might be. Residents don't understand. I don't understand why NNC isn't reporting daily and publicly on the progress, or otherwise, of the progress being made in brokering negotiations with all of the parties involved. The only phrase that is echoing around the county is, it's nothing to do with NNC. If NNC had an appetite for sorting the situation out, it would happen. It's happened before in other places and other difficult situations, and no doubt it will happen again. If there's an appetite to do it, this council can and should do it. It's time that we show the people upstairs tonight and in Kettering generally, who've worked so long, tirelessly and loyally on this project, that Kettering is important and that our beloved Kettering Leisure Village is valued and must survive.
Councillor John McGee, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not a Kettering councillor, but I know from my range of experience being here 26 years, it said a few years at the last meeting, how important that Kettering Leisure Village is. I only go once or twice a week for a game of squash. I know it doesn't look like it, Chair, but I do. It's a fantastic venue, and every time I go there, that car park is full. We struggle to get into that car park. Whether it's 9:30 in the morning or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we struggle to get into that. So where there's a will, there's a way, and you have to have that will. I know it's not easy. You're up against a multinational organisation who you're all having the discussions with. But what you haven't been able to do is keep the public and the users, and more importantly, the staff up to date in what's happening. This morning, when I was there at 9:30 this morning, I was talking to one of the staff who was nearly in tears. 8 days, she says, I've got, and then I'm no job. We've got a responsibility to help the economic situation across this area, and keeping that place open helps us do that. So you have to have that will. As my old dad used to say, where there's a will, there's a way. You've got to have that will to keep that open. I still think your amendment negates what we're trying to do, because if you let it close, it defeats the whole point of the original amendment. The amendment is to keep it open, keep the users there, who want to help take over it and make it a thriving place, and they can do it. And as for using the excuse of scrutiny, that is rubbish. Why can't the executive, the deputy leader who's in charge of this area, the leader, talk to the other leaders of the groups and say, right, here's the business plan, let's get it done quickly and get that saved. It can be done. You know it can be done. And that's what you should do. No other excuses. And you know, the building itself, and I know we don't own it, but we do pay quite... So somebody says about thriving services and facilities like that. We know that all facilities in leisure are subsidised. They never make money. They don't make, a lot of them don't make money. They're subsidised by local authorities and others. And we've got a duty to do that because people come to our areas to live because there's good facilities there. And if we don't keep their facilities there, they'll move away. You want to bring this place down, that's what you're going to do. Kettering needs to come up, in my opinion. The town centre should be more thriving than what it is. But without that leisure village, it'll get worse. So I know you're doing the negotiations there. Hopefully, as I would, if I was sitting where you are now, Mr. Leader over there, I would have Plan B ready to save it before it closes. And I pray you've got that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Mark Rowley, please.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I wouldn't normally do this, but because it's been mentioned and it's an important meeting and before any other accusations fly around, as the Conservative whip, this meeting has not been whipped, just to confirm. In terms of KLV, I think I'd speak for all Conservative councillors here. We are desperate that KLV stays open. I know that the leader and the deputy leader and officers have been working tirelessly to get Phoenix and Compass around the table to extend the opening of the facilities. That will give the breathing space for people who want to take it over at a future date can do, and we can get it working properly with the 4 or 5 potential people in the press that have said that they've got ready-baked solutions for it. Great. Let's get Phoenix and Compass to extend the current lease so it stays open, and then we've got breathing space to actually sort something out in the long term. If not, then we've got 7 working days to agree a budget by the 3rd of July or agree a way forward. So I fully support this amendment. Thank you.
Councillor Leanne Buckingham.
Kettering Leisure Village is not just a building. It's the heart of one of our areas that have seen great deprivation piling in. For years, KLV has been a place of joy, wellness and camaraderie. It's a sanctuary where individuals from all walks of life come together in their pursuit of passion, improving their health and creating lifelong memories. Consider for a moment the impact a closure would have on our youth. It serves as a hub for extracurricular activities, offers a safe space for young people to develop their skills and discover new talents, from swimming to basketball, dance to martial arts. Kettering Leisure has provided an avenue for children and adults to grow, learn and flourish. Let's not overlook the significance of health and well-being in our society. In an era where sedentary lifestyles and chronic diseases prevail, facilities like Kettering Leisure Village act as a powerful weapon against such challenges. It offers state-of-the-art fitness equipment, group exercise classes and recreational opportunities that enable our residents to lead a healthier, happier life. By saving this facility, we are investing in the future well-being of our whole community. Furthermore, Kettering Leisure Village is vitally important economic asset. It attracts visitors from neighbouring towns and beyond, bolstering local businesses and boosting tourism. By nurturing its centre, we create an environment that fosters growth, encourages investment and enhances the overall prosperity. I implore each and every one of you to consider the long-term implications of any decisions that would jeopardise the existence of KLV. Let's not underestimate the devastating impact that the loss of this facility would have on our community. The void left behind would be felt by residents, our children, and future generations. We owe it to ourselves and our constituents to preserve this gem in Kettering, a place that has brought joy, unity, vitality to many, many lives. Kettering Leisure Village represents the very essence of community spirit, and its survival is a testament to our commitment to the well-being and prosperity of our residents. Together, let's stand for something we all believe in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we debating the amendment? Okay, I wasn't. It's just that the last remark didn't even allude to it, so I think we could be here a very long time unless we confine ourselves to debating the amendment.
Right, okay. So I think we are. This is a debate on the motion put forward. Okay. Well, with the amendment, yes. Sorry. Councillor Hakewell.
Thank you, Chairman. Better start my stopwatch. The one thing that really occurs to me is what does, following which, in brackets, if required. What does that mean, if required? So we're going to have a scrutiny process considered by the executive. If the executives don't think it's bother, then it won't require a budget. You know, this is appalling, in my opinion. I would like a recorded decision on this, and I hope that enough colleagues will stand up now to have a recorded decision, because in the annals of the borough of Kettering, as was, and now North Northants, this decision is going to go down very, very badly. This issue has put the spotlight on this council, and I have to say that the political leadership has been found wanting at every single stage. No leadership since April the 27th. Today, Chairman, Kettering Town Council's vans moved up and they moved out. The midwifery service, which had lots of parking, is now being put into the Dryland Street area surgery, which doesn't have enough space in itself. Many people here will be experiencing the way the council manages our council tax and assets for the very first time tonight. My goodness, it's a good job they haven't got buttons for so many out of 10 for what they've experienced tonight. The council did not own Kettering Leisure Village in 1995, Councillor Howell, but here's the press release from 95, and it says, Kettering Leisure Village rescued from receivership by the council who stepped in. And you can tell that the administration don't particularly like that, because they're taking out my paragraph. We call upon this council to take similar action. So they're not going to take any action. They're only going to take it if required in that way. The only positive that I see from this evening is that Councillor Howell and Smithers can act quickly. After 10 days of looking at this motion on the paper, hi Councillor Pentland, absolutely 10 days, a few minutes, a break in the meeting, if required, poorly drafted amendment comes forward. Just to fudge my motion, which they could have done days ago. This is an appalling leadership, and it's an appalling lack of leadership. I will work my heart out, as I have for the last number of days, to keep the KLV open, but I feel really sad and embarrassed to be part of this Conservative conspiracy to spoil the chances of Kettering to have its leisure village. Thank you.
Right. Councillor Melanie Coleman, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I wasn't actually going to speak tonight, but I'm very passionate about KLV and about what it stands for. And if anyone knows me, my background is in performance. I've had a lot to do with KLV both with dance, drama, on-stage performance, disabilities and conferences. So I desperately want to see this venue kept open. But I also want to make sure that as a council we are protected. That's why I will support the amendment, because I believe it's not just about the peoples of Kettering, but it's about the peoples of the whole of North Northants that we are protecting their monies. So I desperately want to see the KLV kept open. I will support the motion to keep it open and make sure we also protect the people of North Northamptonshire. Thank you very much.
Councillor Jason Smithers.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And firstly, thank you to all of you individuals that have come here today to support KLV. One thing I can tell you is this administration, this council, is actually agreed that we should save KLV. This is what this motion puts in front of this council today, to bring up a business case, a legal case, to ensure if we have to save it, we will do what we can to save it. It's up there on the screen, and it's not very often that the Chamber is united on motions, which is absolutely fantastic to see. And thank you again so much to the speakers that have come here today. So, as people have already alluded to, there's been many discussions which we can't keep everybody up to date on because they are commercially sensitive. You have an organisation, two organisations, one very large international corporation and a financial company. Financial company owns the village, owns all the asset down there, and you have another company that's a tenant. So in order for us to step in and save something, and I would talk about the receivership bit that Kettering Borough Council did in the days, if we were looking at potentially the place going bust and there was a receivership type issue, then potentially we would step in with a financial offer, because that would then warrant that. But at the moment, you have two corporations there that have an asset which is not for sale, not for us to take over. We are trying our absolute best, and have done now for the last 4 weeks, to bring together these individuals to come up with a deal. Now, obviously, I can't go into those details because it's commercially sensitive and confidential, but we will continue to do a deal. Now, what's on that screen in black and white, not all this council talk that's on there, this is sort of layman's talk, is that this authority, and I mean all of us, are here to ensure that KLV stays open, and we stand ready to do what we can to ensure that KLV stays open. And it's going to be done in a responsible way, which we hand that responsibility to our officers of the council. This is what this motion is asking. And if they, sorry. Okay. So, as I was saying, this absolutely puts the ball in the court of this authority to do what we can to save KLV. I am committed to KLV staying open. This council, this administration is committed, and we will do everything we can to ensure it does stay open. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Councillor Sedwin Brown, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I support this amended motion this evening. We absolutely must explore every possibility to keep KLV open. It's the last jewel in what was once the shining crown of Kettering. The Lighthouse Theatre has brilliant shows that are always very well supported, and not only put on by professional entertainers, but also youth drama groups, as we've heard this evening. So many sporting groups use the Arena Sports Centre, the Saints Wheelchair Rugby, Volleyball England, five-a-side football leagues, a championship-winning cheerleader group, to name but a few. Balance Gym is the largest gym and spa in the Kettering area. It has a well-equipped gym and a great range of fitness classes to suit everyone that help to keep us fit and well in every sense, both in mind and body, which is so important. People have made lifelong friends when they've joined the club, and it has helped very many people through some of the saddest and toughest times of their lives. Lastly, and one thing that hasn't been mentioned yet, in the importance of keeping KLV open, is the planned reconstruction of Kettering General Hospital. Kettering Leisure Village was used for COVID testing and vaccinations, flu vaccinations and midwifery appointments. When the building work begins at Kettering General Hospital, many clinics will need to relocate, and KLV will be their first choice because of the location and the ease of access. So please, let's do everything we possibly can to save KLV. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Right, Councillor Elliott Prentice.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Hakewell suggested this amendment is playing games. In fact, I believe this is the complete opposite to that. The motion brought forward is a well-intentioned one. However, as a Kettering resident, I am determined to see KLV remain open, and I believe this amendment only strengthens the original motion, increasing the likelihood of a positive outcome for KLV. There are a lot of voices around the chamber this evening that suggesting that this administration is not desperate to see this facility remain open. That is so far from reality. We all want KLV to stay open, but it's vital that residents and KLV staff are presented with a legal, considered and viable plan that will stand the test of time. This amendment is the best way to do this, and I fully support it.
Thank you. Councillor Lee Wilkes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate what Councillor Mitchell said earlier when he apologised for losing his temper. We're all passionate about what we do, because caring and wanting to improve where we live, where we work, where we play, is of course typically why we all became councillors. And I do hope the people that were affected by his outburst, I wasn't there, will accept his apology as he requested. Where I am at odds with what was said is when it comes to politics and the taking of risks, except he mentioned for families and health. The vast majority of business carried out by this council, indeed I would say by any council, isn't political. I doubt there's a person in this room that isn't here because they just want to improve our area and help people. I also imagine that the vast majority of the people in this room are fully supportive of KLV and have supported and attended over the years. I'm sure everyone wants the private companies who run, own, manage KLV to get together, resolve their issues, and continue to provide these services. The services that we all enjoy, and we want them to supply them for the long term. I'm sure, in fact, that we all wish the private companies running KLV hadn't pulled the plug, or that they'd given the public and the council more notice. It's put every single person here and in the wider community in a dreadful position. I breathed a huge sigh of relief to hear the amendment to the motion. Whilst it's easy to forget our heads, it's easy to be passionate, it's easy to lose our temper, and it's easy to take the political easy option and just agree to financially support KLV without knowing the full costs. We have to remember that we are councillors. We have to think with our head. And every one of us has a duty to our 360,000 residents to ensure that everything we do is legal, is affordable, and is fully scrutinised. Let's get a viable business case, see on paper exactly how much money is needed. Is it £10,000? Is it £100,000? £1 million? Is it more? And then see what can be done. As much as every one of us wants this great facility to continue, we can't simply take the easy option, as much as we'd all love to, and just agree to sign an open cheque to a private company without the necessary legal and financial checks. So to finish, Chair, I wholeheartedly support KLV. I also wholeheartedly support the amendment to the motion.
Thank you. Thank you. Our final speaker on this issue, Councillor Jan O'Hara.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Excuse me, Chair. I was there to speak and I was told my speaker told me there was no one before me.
I'll put my glasses on. Yes, I think I have got you and Councillor Jelly.
You've got John.
Yeah, right. Okay. Sorry about that. Councillor O'Hara.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you. It's said that things happen for a reason. We now have a chance to reason with those running KLV to negotiate a suitable deal to enable the continuance of a vital community facility. I appreciate matters are being undertaken and negotiations are being undertaken, and they are business in confidence. I appreciate that. But the negotiations, I would hope, will come out positively. It is important to ensure we retain KLV and all it provides, and that includes for its sport, its theatrical facilities, the jobs it gives, and the sense of community it provides. It's a sense of place, and it's what engenders many people's lives. And ensure we have, but what we must do, we must ensure that we have a robust budget to maintain KLV for all our futures. Prevention is better than cure. And I think that KLV helps maintain our residents' health, both physical and mental. And I, for one, have used most of their facilities, whether it be in the theatre or in the sports facilities. And I would say that it is the pinnacle of our community aspirations, and that by working together, by all of us working together across all boundaries, we can achieve that which we desire, which is to retain KLV. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor William Colquhoun, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to do something a bit different here, Chair. I'm going to speak to the amendment. Hope you don't mind. And I'm a bit bemused by it, Chair. On the motion, before the amendment, Councillor Hakewell and Councillor Kelly Watts urge the authority to keep KLV open. That's the gist of it, and that's what we all want. I'm listening to Conservative councillors speaking tonight to this amendment, saying how wonderful it is, how we must do everything we can to benefit KLV, and yet wanting to vote for this amendment which further jeopardises the safety of KLV. Make no mistake here, ladies and gentlemen, in the gallery or elsewhere, this is putting KLV at jeopardy. The motion itself, thank you. The motion itself urges keep KLV open, a sustainable long-term future. Councillor Smithers says he will do everything possible to make that happen. I would say to Councillor Smithers, then do it. And for the councillors who support the amendment and speak so highly of paragraphs 1 and 2 on that amendment, which are very, very good and salient paragraphs, you're speaking in favour of those, and yet at the bottom you're saying, up to heck with it. You know, we may not be able to do it, because the second last line there, following which, if required, a budget should be agreed. What if it's not required? What if the executive says we can't afford it? I would reject this amendment. I would go back to the motion and I would say keep KLV open. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. That's a full debate on that issue. We'll now move to Councillor Hakewell, who made... Well, I'm not sure. Perhaps I'll... Is it Councillor Howell?
Chair, yeah. It goes back to Councillor Howell, who is the mover of the amendment.
Yeah, sorry. Councillor Howell.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sorry. Can we please have one speaker? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's been an extremely interesting debate. I thank all the speakers. Yeah.
So can we please respect the debate in the chamber, please? Carry on. Councillor Howell, please continue.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's an extremely difficult situation that we've all been put in. We were as shocked as everybody to receive notice from the contractors. We had no prior warning to this situation, any of us. So obviously, the first thing we have to do is communicate with those that are involved. That communication has been ongoing since the day we knew of the proposed closure. I have said previously, and it's been said by numerous members of this administration, negotiations are still ongoing. We continue to have those negotiations to try and come to a resolution between the two contractors. Those negotiations are highly confidential. These are businesses who have possibly shareholders, and the legal implications of us passing out information to all and sundry would put this council in a serious legal position. And we cannot do that. And our members should be appreciative of that. It's all well and good standing here and grandstanding. You'll note that it's only the opposition who have made this political. We certainly haven't. We certainly haven't, because everybody in this administration wants to save KLV, totally and utterly. We are doing our utmost to do that. We have heard the strength of feeling from everybody. We have listened to the statements and communications from the public. We may not have been able to give you the answers that you want right now at this moment in time, but we've heard them, we're listening to them, we're doing our utmost to try and come to a resolution. But we all should agree that if we consider stepping in, we must do it on a legal basis. We must ensure that we have a strong business case which considers both legal and financial implications to this council and all of our taxpayers. 360,000 taxpayers we are responsible for. So we really have to make sure that we take the political side out of it. We look at the legal aspects of this. We look at the financial aspects of this. We're not grandstanding. We're trying to make the right decision and work what's best for our residents and save KLV. So on that, Madam Chairman, I close now and hope that everybody will support this amendment to this motion. Thank you.
Do I get Anna to a second? No. Okay. Sorry.
Personal point of order. I asked, what does "if required" mean directly of the portfolio holder? She has not answered my question.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Well, until a business case is presented and we understand the financial responsibility that might be there, at that point we'd have to make a decision. However, if a deal is done with the original contractors, we wouldn't have to step in. So that's where the "if" comes in. If they do a deal, we won't have to. So the "if" is valid, because if they come to a deal where they don't need additional financial support from us, bearing in mind they already get £330,000 a year, the same as most of our other facilities, we wouldn't have to provide any further financial support. So that's why it says "if." We can't obviously say we will put money in if we don't need to put money in. I think it's as simple as that, Councillor Hakewell.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, can we have no comments, please, from the gallery? Thank you. I think we've had a very full debate on this issue. We will now move to the vote, which will be a recorded vote.
Chair, just to be clear, this is the vote on the amendment. So the amendment on your screen, there will be a recorded vote for this. If it passes, then that will become the substantive motion and we will do another vote on that. If it falls, then we move back to the original motion. Just to be clear, members.
Thank you.
Thank you. The vote has now begun.
Okay, thank you.
It's confusing when we get to the amendments.
Yeah.
There are 10 seconds remaining. The amendment is carried.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So the amendment is carried, so that has become the substantive motion. Members are able to debate before a vote is taken. Just to note that because this has now become the substantive motion, and I'm probably referring to Councillor Hakewell here, there is no record of a recorded vote on this motion. So if members did want a recorded vote, you would need to ask again for it because it's changed from the original motion and the amended motion as well. So if you want to debate, I suppose. Just need to ask if anybody wants to debate this, otherwise we'll move to the vote.
Okay. Does anybody wish to debate that motion? Okay, we'll move to the vote. Oh, sorry. Councillor Hakewell.
Just a point of clarification. I didn't vote for that because the if required explanation was clearly not satisfactory. I didn't understand that, so that's going back to that one. So we are now debating the amended motion, which is now the substantive one. At the end of the day, the people who are passionate about the KLV want this council to step in. Not woolly, wishy words brought in at the 11th hour plus. What they want is the KLV to stay open, and that paragraph taken out clearly says that this administration do not want to step in under any circumstances, because it will end up that if required, a budget should be agreed by the 3rd of July. So for those who don't understand how this council works, and even those who turned up tonight who thought they did probably go home and won't think how they understood it now, is formal scrutiny process considered before being considered by the executive. So the executive are going to have an option of a business plan, a cost, or no business plan. Following which, if required, who's going to decide if required? If someone comes out that's more dedicated, a private investor, than this council to keeping it open and funds it, that doesn't affect the fact that the council should have its plan B. And as far as I can see there is no plan B for a budget should it be agreed by the 3rd of July. So actually, these are weasel words, and once again, we had 10 days to work this out. I know, and I know the people who I've worked with, and I know from being on the Borough Council from 1987, just how crucial this is. But I go a step further than the platitudes we've heard from so many people. I know it's crucial, and I want to do something about it. So in this circumstance, we know that the majority of councillors here are Conservative, and you don't have to whip them. The implied whip is always there, one way or the other. But this vote will go through on this motion. I've no doubt about that. But I'm convinced it's not going to bring the outcome that the people outside and the people in here wanted. So from my point of view, I'm going to vote against it because I'm voting in favour of stepping in, and that's been taken out.
Thank you. Councillor Smithers.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And I'm pleased this amended motion has come forward. And just for clarity, this amended motion states that this executive, this administration and all councillors are still behind saving KLV. The systems that are here, we have to have as it says up there, we've got a decision that needs to be made, so the business plan is put together. It then goes in front of the independent scrutiny function of this council, who then scrutinise it to make sure it's best value. Something Councillor Hakewell is very aware of in scrutiny. And then thirdly, it will come to the executive, this group on the front here, where we would look at that case and look at the professional advice that's been put to us. But again, we are committed to saving Kettering Leisure Village, as you guys up there are. Thank you.
Councillor Helen Harrison.
Thank you, Chair. I don't want to repeat all the things that everyone said in the room this evening. There's not a single councillor so far who has said anything other than we support Kettering Leisure Village and we want to do everything to keep it open. I think you would expect, with my portfolio of adults' health and well-being, that I am a strong supporter of people across North Northamptonshire being able to access superb leisure facilities and maintain their health and well-being, both physical and mental. I've got pretty cross during this debate because several members of the opposition have made aspersions that we on this front bench actually are deliberately trying to create the closure of Kettering Leisure Village. And I think it's absolutely disgraceful that they should say such a thing. It is I've watched my colleagues, Councillor Howell and Councillor Smithers, go to endless meetings and work incredibly hard to do all they can to save Kettering Leisure Village, working with the current operators. It is absolutely outrageous that these slurs are being made in this chamber, and the only reason it is being done is for political reasons and to play to the gallery up there to try to tell them that we are not doing all that we can, when we absolutely are. And this motion absolutely makes that clear. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor John McGee.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate that. I'm afraid whether she says she wants to close it or not, intentionally or unintentionally, that motion will see it close. In fact, I think the mover of the motion said that. So what message does that send to the staff and the users? And we all know, who's been around us a very long time, is once you close something like that, it's extremely difficult to get it back up and running the way it is. And that's not taking into consideration all the staff who in 8 days' time won't have a job because you haven't moved in the 5 weeks quick enough. And that's what it boils down to, unfortunately. You've had these 5 weeks. You're now saying you're going to close it and carry on the discussions. The discussions should have been done by now and something sorted so the staff, in less than a week, will be laid off, and you could have helped that. You could have helped all the users, all the groups, and you've left it too late. Too little, too late. That'll be your legacy. And you can still resolve that, rather than have scrutiny and then executive. I've already mentioned it. Why don't you get that plan? Because you probably got it up and ready. I'd be very surprised and disappointed if any executive members or leaders of that group there didn't have something in the back pocket up and ready. So what you should be doing is talking to the leaders, because everybody wants to keep it open, so why should it go through that long process? That's what's the matter with local government, isn't it? They make everything full of red tape. When we all agree with something, let's not do that. Let's take it to the leaders, get an agreement and save it before the 3rd of July so that we know our users have got somewhere to go and our staff are safe.
Thank you. Councillor Martin Griffiths.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm not a great lover of semantics, but I'm also not a great lover of late amendments. I am encouraged by what I've heard tonight, and there is a definite will. What we've got to do, as Councillor John McGee said, is find that way. We've got to do better than this, Madam Chairman. The same happened with Pen Green, with a late U-turn. And I find it disrespectful that people have mentioned that we don't understand commercial confidentiality. Of course we understand commercial confidentiality. Members should not discover things at the last minute. There is members' briefing notes that can be sent out. And our chief executive, by the way, is very experienced in the arts and leisure facilities. His career dates back that. So I'm quietly confident that something can be achieved. My problem with the amendment isn't so much the if required, because I got the if required. My concern is considered by the executive. Let's cut out the red tape, let's cut out what John McGee said earlier, and let's bring it back to full council. That's where this should be debated. It's that important. The reports should come back to full council and cut out the other delaying process, because there's been enough delay on this already. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Dorothy Maxwell.
I don't want to say a lot actually, but sadly, why can't you not understand the legal agreement? We do not want this. We want this to stay open, but we have to wait until the legal agreement actually tells us what they're going to do next. The owners, they are probably discussing it now, what to do next. But we as a council are not in a situation to spend money and that we don't have, but equally, it wouldn't be right until we get the full reasons behind it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and our final speaker, Councillor Emily Fedorovich.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Two things. First of all, as Councillor Griffiths has said, we understand the importance of commercial sensitivity, and I think everybody has... people are reasonable, they understand that, but there has been no transparency. As I said, we haven't seen people actually getting that. We haven't known when those meetings have been. The public could have just at least known that. So the whole idea of the fact that this has been transparent is complete rubbish. But the second thing is actually one of my questions hasn't been answered. I don't know if this is even possible to do, because the wording that we have up there says that we need to have go through a formal scrutiny process before being considered by the executive, following which, and this all has to be before July the 3rd. I don't actually think, well, I don't even know within our constitution if that's possible. So that was my question before. Can we follow those processes? Because that's what the wording says. So if we can do that in time, then great. Then we should be doing that. But if that can't be done in time, then we really should be considering that wording, or we need to be calling those meetings as emergency meetings. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. To be clear, the original motion also said the 3rd of July, and to do that we would have had to issue the agenda tomorrow, so to be able to do it. So the original motion was also very difficult in that time frame, if not impossible. So this one is also very difficult. What I can say is that members provide policy, so they tell officers what they want to do. Officers will advise on that. The officer advises that it's going to be very unlikely, if not impossible, for us to meet this time frame. But that doesn't mean that the motion is invalid, as was the original motion as well. So both motions were difficult on those timescales. It's not going to be possible to do it in that time. That doesn't mean members can't tell officers, that's what their intention is. But from an officer perspective and the advice, it's not going to happen.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move to the vote, which was a recorded vote on the motion as amended. Okay. Okay, we're now going to the vote, which is a recorded vote. You have 30
The vote is now
seconds.
open.
Yeah, this is a recorded vote.
There are 10 seconds remaining.
That just means that the member did not record a vote. So you don't have to record a vote.
Okay. Yes, the motion is carried.
I've just taken gavel gone around because we want to thank them. We want to thank them for coming. So that's the end of this motion. Thank them for coming. Also, leave the champions for 5 minutes.
Okay. Well, that's the end of that item. I'm not sure if members of the public wish to now leave as we move on to debate another issue. We'll have a short adjournment while that happens. Thank you. Okay, the next item is motion 1. Can I please call on Councillor Scott Brown to move his motion?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'd like to start, if I may, with a little observation. I noted at the beginning of the meeting we had some declarations of interest. We saw a few on the Conservative side with regards to this motion. I did notice, however, that there was no such interest from the Labour Party, which I think pretty much sums up their approach to rural affairs, and that is one of no interest. Now, I'm not going to stand here and go chapter and verse on this motion. I think I've got a little bit more faith in all you guys than Councillor Hakewell has. I assume you've all read the motion and understand it. Like me, is relatively simple, transparent and straightforward, but I would like to explain a little about why I brought this motion. Following discussions with many of my residents in my rural Earls Barton ward, there's certainly a feeling that rural life is under somewhat of an attack. Whether that is via overdevelopment of our villages, whether that is via motions through councils, such as the one we had in North Northants some months ago, that sought to ban lawful rural activities such as trail hunting on North Northants land, or whether indeed that comes from groups such as Plant-Based Treaty that seek to cause untold harm to farmers and the subsequent supply chains with illiberal, totalitarian motions seeking to have councillors such as us dictate to our communities what they should or shouldn't eat. Let's not beat around the bush here. Farmers have had it tough for a long time. They're still facing incredible difficulties in maintaining a viable business. This motion, if passed today, I hope will give the many farmers and rural communities across our green and pleasant land the confidence that this council is on their side, that we shall act as their partners and their PR department, and this council will strive to support farmers by being sympathetic to diversification opportunities and promotion of local produce. Agriculture makes a significant contribution to our local economy, providing many jobs and opportunities for our rural communities. It is of national importance. Domestic food production is of national importance, as is the important role agriculture has to play in protecting and enhancing our environment and ecology. As a councillor, I want to ensure the council is fully playing its role to support our local farmers, whether that be sourcing our meat, dairy and plant-based produce locally, or by making sure farmers are not forgotten in new policy development. As I've already said, it's a tough industry that's come under huge pressure in recent years, but it's vital in North Northants and indeed for Britain. Councils should be making sure they are doing everything they can to support local farmers, which is what this motion is about. In the face of numerous divisive and unnecessarily attacking anti-livestock farming motions elsewhere, this policy represents an inclusive, positive alternative which fundamentally recognises the significant contribution our farmers make to the countryside. Crucially, it demonstrates the importance of supporting local producers, cutting the distance travelled from farm to plate. This is vital in cutting down on mileage and emissions and doesn't involve bashing those farmers who produce meat and dairy or impose any one diet. And with that, Madam Chairman, I'd like to propose this motion to Council. Thank you.
Can I see Councillor Elliott Prentice to second the motion?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I commend Councillor Brown for bringing forward this excellent motion. The motion has my full support and I'm happy to second. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I ask councillors to speak on the motion, I've been notified of one amendment prior to the meeting. Please may I see Councillor Emily Fedorovich to move the amendment.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much. So I think this is a very valuable and important motion, highlighting the plight of our local farmers at this time, who are very much struggling both to survive in an increasingly volatile climate and also with the challenge of decarbonising. Agriculture is going to be one of the biggest industries to suffer in the upcoming years, and we need to be giving our local farmers all the support we can. With agriculture as a whole contributing to 10% of our carbon emissions within the UK, it's a key area for us to tackle as well. We also need to understand who we're supporting, and mostly arable land in North Northants. So referencing livestock traders are a very small sort of portion of the whole, so I think we just need to be aware of that. The motion today is very, very good in highlighting the issue overall, but it fails to address the ways in which we need to be supporting our farmers. So I've got an amendment that will be put up on the screen, if that's okay, please. But I will read it out for you just to sort of highlight what we're proposing. I think absolutely we need to be keeping all of this same sort of North Northants Council committed to supporting local farmers, absolutely. The main things that we're changing here is just to sort of to say that NNC should engage and work in partnership with our arable and livestock farmers to support, promote and encourage their move towards creating more sustainable produce, and that's across the board. So yeah, it's a really, really key thing that we need to be doing, and we need to be thinking about how we're supporting our farmers, not just that we are going to do that. So that's one key change that we're sort of saying there. The second change is to do with the elected members line. Elected members will be vocal in opposing excessive regulation by central government, enabling them to prosper. I did just want to challenge this really, because quite frankly, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not particularly well worded, and it's quite hard for motions to sort of say members will oppose excessive regulation. What is excessive regulation? We need to actually define that. It's too vague, it's too open. And also, if members want to oppose something by central government, any regulation, they're entitled to do so and will likely do so anyway. This isn't really a line that's enforceable. And for me, I just think we need to get rid of it. It doesn't make sense. The second part is also just not needed. So we need to be encouraging people to encourage them to shop locally, taking advantage of homegrown, affordable and nutritious food, thus reducing the food miles on our plates. That is it. That is the nub of it. And I think that's actually getting to the heart of exactly what this motion is all about. So let's get down to it. We need to be promoting local produce as much as possible. It's sort of in summary, we are in full support of our farmers, all farmers, and we need to be addressing the support to exactly what they need. And also we need to hopefully revisit, I think this motion has sparked us to think about revisiting this topic and how we can lead as example in the way that we sort of promote food, promote our local producers in the area, and I hope we actually come back with some more motions like this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I ask Councillor Destel to second that amendment?
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to second this and I'll reserve the right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to councillors wishing to speak. Councillor King-Lewell.
Thank you, Chair. Well, this will be quite succinct. This, Madam Speaker, is an absolute no-brainer. In which world would I ever support forcing bugs and plants down the throats of my constituents? It's incredible that this plant-based food movement think it's acceptable to force this sort of agenda in the first place. I've used the terminology force twice as that's what it is. I say support our farmers, support chicken and meat consumption as much as humanly possible. And if the plant movement wants to eat plants, go ahead, but not to the expense of, not to our expense and not at the expense of our wonderful farmers and lovely countryside. Thank you. It is relevant. Of course it is. Of course it is. Of course it is. I'll debate you on it.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Lynn Buckingham.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. And first, I would like to say about my displeasure at Councillor Brown's opening remarks about us Labour people not understanding the ways of our British countryside. I object to that most strongly because I've worked on the land for a long time, most of my adult life actually. And I understand, and I agree with Councillor Fedorovicz's amendment, and where he got the, you're going to be vocal. Even if we're vocal, you know, we get accused of grandstanding all the time. So is that your opportunity, Councillor Brown? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Alison Diel.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd just like to speak on the amendment and completely support Councillor Fedorovic. The line, elected members will be vocal in opposing excessive regulation by central government. Who are we to know what is excessive regulation? We are not qualified, or, well, not many of us are qualified to understand what is excessive regulation. And to ask elected members to be vocal on something that they don't really understand if it's excessive or not is just unenforceable. And actually, if you're asking us to be vocal, but as Councillor Buckingham says in the next breath, you accuse us of politically grandstanding, it's very difficult to be vocal. So that line does not make sense. And then it says, enabling them to prosper. Well, enabling who to prosper? Because actually, by that comma put in after central government, the meaning of that line says enabling elected members to prosper. We should be talking really here about our communities, not about enabling elected members to prosper. So I really would like the amendment to be considered by Councillor Brown. Remove that sentence. Let's have the discussion on the amended motion by Councillor Fedorovic. And I don't think there is a single person in this room, in this chamber, that does not support British farming. So again, let's not make any aspersions that people, just because they're on opposition benches, don't support British farming. Of course we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Anne Lee.
Thank you, Chair. I welcome this motion, but I agree with the amendment because I had also made a note of excessive regulation. What is excessive regulation? I looked up the Agriculture Act 2020 because I tried to educate myself on what this regulation might be. And there are several things in that act that I find are positive. Measures relating to agricultural tenancies, fertilizer regulation, identification and traceability of animals, the red meat levy. The term excessive regulation is not sufficiently specific. So although I welcome a debate about our farmers, and I certainly want to support them, I agree that, and I do agree that residents should be encouraged to shop locally. I find this bill insufficiently specific on what it is trying to fight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Andy Mercer.
Thank you. I was originally going to speak on the original motion, but since there's an amendment, I'll speak on that as well. I can't support the amendment. Elected members are elected to be vocal. That's our job. We don't go around digging up, filling in holes in the streets for our constituents. We talk to people and ask them to do it. We vote to see it happen. It's all about talking. We are supposed to be vocal. So taking out elected members will be vocal does seem to be emasculating our entire raison d'etre, if you'll excuse my French. Now, cutting out both plant and meat based, that is deliberately hanging off the plant-based treaty emails that we've all been flooded with, which are an attempt to impose a lifestyle on people without necessarily their consent. I don't agree with that. There's clearly been excessive regulation by central government. I don't know if you've got any idea, if the members here have got any idea of how many regulations that are produced per year. It's extraordinary. You can't possibly read them all. There's too many. So that's not a question. The question is, are they ones that apply to farming? Well, you can't read them all, so you can't check. To ensure their ability to enhance our magnificent countryside. Apparently that's wrong. We're not allowed to ensure their ability to enhance our magnificent countryside. Well, I personally would like to. Support, promote and encourage their move towards sustainable, more sustainable produce. Now, that's an interesting one. I looked up the definition of sustainable that the government uses, and that means making it more, something to do with future generations. Well, that bit I could possibly support if it was just adding that sentence, but it's the removal of the other bits that I can't support. So, overall, I can't support this amendment.
Thank you. Councillor David Howes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I can't tell you how long I've been waiting for years to talk about farming, and particularly poor farmers. So, in relation to the amendment, I mean, this amendment just typifies the lack of understanding that some members in the chamber have about British farming and agriculture. So, the first element is to ensure their ability to enhance our magnificent countryside. Well, first of all, why would you want to take that out? Second of all, and this may be a revolution, and I'm sure Councillor Fedorovich is well-intentioned, but it isn't a new thing to care about our countryside. I know it's very, very fashionable for us all to be extremely green, but I will just make the point that there are farmers up and down this country who have been looking after our countryside on our behalf, unbeknown to the millions of people who benefit from what is caretakers of our countryside, our environment and our atmosphere. It is very, very easy and very quick for us all to believe the nonsense that sometimes is put in the media in regards to bad farming practices. We assume that those things are done across the board, and it's not the case. I spent some time, Madam Chairman, when I was younger at the Duke of Buccleuch's estate, and one of the wonderful things about the Duke of Buccleuch was his utter passion for our environment. And he had a policy, and it may well still be the case, that the old Duke wanted 2 trees planting for every single tree that was felled. And he made it very clear that we are custodians of our countryside. So, to take that line out seems utterly ridiculous to me. The second element is elected members will be vocal in opposing excessive regulation. I cannot think of many industries that are not as regulated as agriculture. I cannot tell Councillor Fedorovich how painful, how bureaucratic, how costly the bureaucracy of our successive governments, including our own Conservative administration, has been on agriculture. Nothing moves from a holding lot in agriculture without the government knowing. It is ridiculous, the excessive regulation. And regulation is not bad. We need regulation, but we don't want excessive regulation. And I think, as Councillor Mercer said, we should be absolutely vocal with our local members of Parliament, with everybody, about the excessive regulation that goes on in agriculture. And then third and finally, removing both plant and meat-based is not an attack on obviously taking away plant-based, but it's clearly an attempt to take away the line that says meat-based. This is a very well-constructed...
Sorry, Councillor House, I'm afraid your time is
Okay,
up.
finally, very well-constructed original motion. I cannot support this amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Tim Allabone.
My apologies, Madam Chairman. I got a bit jumped the gun there. I'm meaning to talk on the original motion and not the amendment, so I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to Councillor Leanne Buckingham, please.
Thank you for bringing this motion to the table. We've sat through many motions and I've heard many of you in the room say, I simply can't support this motion because, honestly, elected members being vocally and opposing Well, we vocally oppose closing our services. We vocally oppose closing our children's services. We vocally oppose our roads not being filled properly. It's a wishy-washy line, and I simply can't support it for that reason. The removal of plant-based and meat-based, realistically, more people have attacked the plant-based. We're just removing it. We don't want to discuss. It's your choice. And on the topic of consent, I still have freedom of speech, and therefore, maybe I don't want to be vocal in opposing. Some of that excessive regulation means that we haven't got bleached chicken on our table. I think that's crucially important, that we have regulations to make sure this is the safest proper production. And in the case of the interest, I don't have a farm. I'm not regulated, so therefore I don't have an interest. But I did spend 20 years of my life growing up on farms. So I still wouldn't be declaring an interest, would I, sir?
Thank you. Councillor Fedorovich.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. There's a lot of interesting points that have been thrown around this evening. I think what I want to get back to is this has come forward because it's been around the plant-based. It's been a response. It's been a response to plant-based solutions and things that have been put across.
Sorry, Councillor Fedorovich. I understand as you've already spoken, it's not possible for you to speak again. Okay. Okay. In that case, we'll go to Councillor Hakewell.
Thank you, Chairman. I would have thought, after the 2 years on this council, that there were enough, hi Jason, thanks for looking, that there were enough Conservatives here with enough contacts. There's Helen, well done. There were enough. Why do these people keep looking at me?
Point of order. Sorry, Chair. Councillor Hakewell earlier made a point of order with regards to members addressing the Chair. Councillor Hakewell is not addressing the Chair at the moment whilst he's talking to members on the front row.
Thank you.
No, I certainly wouldn't talk to members on the front row. There's not enough time. Are there not enough councillors in this chamber to be able to take that out with contacts with our MPs who vote those MPs in and are now telling us, actually, that those MPs are not doing the right bidding and we are creating excessive regulation, which I find rather odd because, you know, we ought to have Brexit mentioned, shouldn't we? We're always told it was Europe. Now we've got a bunch of MPs who are excessively regulating us. So I would take that particular line out. Chairman, I remember at scrutiny, and Simon Riley was there on that night, when we heard about the roads and the potholes, and we heard that the government, supported by the majority in this room, had cut the highways budget. That was in scrutiny. And I said, let's vocalise this. Let's write a letter to the MPs, i.e. elected members will be vocal in opposing excessive regulation. I was voted down on that. So scrutiny was not prepared to do that, and therefore it's a pointless line to put that into this particular motion. As for the green and present land, I often drive down from the Hermitage on the Harbour Road down towards the Braybrook Road roundabout, and there are clearly some places where farming is making the place look attractive, and there are places where it's not. Regulation, BSE, when we're talking about excessive regulation, BSE came to us and we suddenly had to find all the animals, all the cattle, they had to be slaughtered before 30 months, animal passports came in. Is that in this motion being considered excessive regulation? I don't think so, because it actually protected human health. And surely at the end of the day, we can credit our farmers with deciding whether it's plant or meat-based without dictating that to them. Farming is probably the most technological business since the Second World War of any out there, and the innovation that farmers brought forward was massive. And they will innovate to plant or meat. So it doesn't really matter. Why are we trying to tell them which way to go? Leave it open. affordable, nutritious food. Affordable, nutritious food, and leave it to the people who know how to produce it to decide how to do that. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Well, councillors, sorry, I need to make you aware that we've now reached the time of our meeting.
Guillotine to be made until the business of the agenda has been passed, considering we still have councillor questions outstanding from March.
Okay, well, I was about to ask members if they wish to continue, but as you've moved that motion, does anyone wish to second? Okay, well, we'll continue the meeting then. Yeah, if there's a vote, please, to continue. Okay.
I think it's not a clear vote, so I think we need to go to the electronic vote.
The vote has now started. There are 10 seconds remaining.
And we don't get the vote up. Right, are we finished? Yeah. The vote is carried, so we will continue the meeting. And the next speaker is Councillor Helen Harrison.
Thank you, Chair. I find myself slightly uncomfortably on the opposite side of some of my Conservative colleagues on this amended motion. I congratulate Councillor Scott Brown for bringing the motion, but I do actually believe that the amendments are probably right. I regret that ensure their ability to enhance our magnificent countryside has been taken out. But otherwise, that paragraph I am perfectly content with. I also agree with the points that have been made by others already, that actually we in this chamber can't tell elected members what they should be vocal about, particularly when it comes to central government policy. It's for each individual councillor to make decisions on that for themselves. I don't think we can hold people to making those decisions. We can't make those decisions for all members in this chamber. And I'm pretty relaxed about taking both plant and meat-based out because I don't think it particularly changes what is meant by that part, although I suspect it is specifically for a particular reason, though. So I am going to vote for the amendments to this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Lee Wilkes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Crikey, how frustrating is this? Again, there's just party politics coming into council business. Let me be clear, because I'm a Conservative, and as a Conservative, one of my core values is freedom of choice. I do believe that councils have a responsibility to provide advice and guidance on healthy eating and healthy lifestyles and healthy living, but I really do not believe that councils should dictate or restrict what residents should eat. The amendment's interesting, as it suggests removing the reference to plant and meat-based foods. So why is it interesting? Why is it so important that an amendment to the motion had to be made to remove it? Well, of course, it's important because it's part of the Green Party's food agenda, published on their own website, that they want to support a progressive transition from a diet dominated by meat and animal products to one with a higher proportion of plant-based foods. And they intend to do this by education and the operation of higher punitive taxes. I absolutely believe that our residents should be free to choose to eat what they want, to feed their families what they want. And therefore, despite the attempts to stop the speech, I reject the amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Ian Jelly.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I'm afraid I can't support this amendment to the motion. Personally, I think the original motion was perfectly acceptable. The one thing I will support is everything that Councillor David House said as a poor farmer's son. Now, my son-in-law is a farmer in Lincolnshire, so I'm speaking as a poor farmer's father-in-law. And it's very difficult, it's very easy for people to criticise what's going on in the countryside. But if you look at a farmer, they have a very difficult life. You know, look at the situation we've got at the moment with all your fertiliser prices going up. They don't get any extra money for their corn or their wheat or their barley. My son-in-law spends hours and hours out in the field tending his crops. I go up in the summer and help him because he can't afford to employ anybody else. And when we start talking about taking out, ensure the ability to enhance our magnificent countryside, my son-in-law goes out, he cuts hedges, he cleans ditches, and it all costs him the money for the diesel. He doesn't get paid for doing that, and he keeps his countryside lovely and clean for everybody to see. So I can't support this amendment to the motion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Anat Pandey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe the original motion is quite well crafted and covers what we need. I reject this amended motion. Reason I gave, like if you remove the both plant and meat base, it may make it very ambiguous. What is nutritious food? That could mean different thing for different one. I give you example. In last few days, I have received numerous emails suggesting that I should drop meat. I should eat only vegetarian. So that is kind of excessive regulation, whether it's by the central government or by the protester. If you remove both plant and meat, tomorrow you might see the protester at the farm saying that they said nutritious food and meat is not nutritious. So we have to have the both plant and meat in that. And I understand with my colleague who said we all have freedom to speak, but we have been elected as a councillor to speak for our constituents. When we say we have to be vocal, we have to reject aggressive or any excessive amendment or the rules which come from the central government or any protester. Nowadays, we are saying it has become a culture to protest each and everything. We see so many protesters on the road. They are giving example of climate emergency and blocking roads. They are rejecting oil, and if we let it go, if we remove this both plant and meat from this, tomorrow we'll have protesters on farms asking to reject the meat. So I reject this amendment. I go with the original one. Thank you.
Councillor Wendy Brackenbury.
Thank you, Chair. I prefer the original motion. I wouldn't like to see the line about our magnificent countryside being taken out. However, I do think it may be a good idea to look at the line elected members will be vocal in opposing excessive regulation by central government, enabling them to prosper for some of the reasons we have heard, but also it can be read that we are asking to prosper elected members. I know it's not meant to read that, but it can be read like that. Thank you.
Councillor John McGee.
Thank you, Chair. Before the amendment came, Chair, I was quite keen to support Councillor Brown's amendment, and then it came out with his vocal claptrap and attack on the Labour group. Good way to get support for your motion. That shows the inability in his political career. That does. No wonder he's sitting at the back up here and not down the front. Chair, I agree with the amendment. It's a shame to, as some people have said, about ensure their ability to enhance our magnificent countryside. But I agree with it taken out. So how do we ensure that? We can fully support it, we can do what we want and help in any way personally, but how do we, sitting in here, ensure their ability to do that? I just don't know how I'd be able to do that. I really don't. I would love to be able to do it, but I don't. So we all love our countryside. We want to support our farmers, the ones that do it by the book. And as for excessive regulation, I didn't hear any vocal coming from Councillor Brown when local government was cut by 60% and then capped on a council charge so we could raise money to try and get our services done. I didn't hear him being very vocal then. So, you know, what is excessive? He probably didn't think that was excessive, so how are we to know what else will be excessive? So, Chair, I think we should, quite rightly, support the amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jason Smithers.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Well, I can't support this amendment, as you may realise. I think it's an excellent motion that's been brought by Councillor Brown, and I applaud the fact that he's brought this. It's something that we need to look at locally, where we are asking people to support their local farmers, their local businesses. That's good for Northamptonshire. I do get quite frustrated with the constant claptrap of being told that we shouldn't be eating meat products. I believe in freedom of choice, freedom of speech, and quite frankly, I don't like people telling me that I can't eat meat and they want to push me down a plant-based diet, and that is the agenda of the Green Party. They may come across all fluffy and nice, but their agenda is purely to make us eat plants. Now, I like plants. You wouldn't believe it looking at me. I'm not fond of lettuce, Madam Chair, but I do like plant-based foods, and I buy quite a lot of them. However, I enjoy a big, fat, juicy steak as well, and that is my choice as an individual, and I will continue to make that choice, and I will not be told by anyone that I should and what I shouldn't eat. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. Well, we had come to the end of our speakers. We have Councillor Dell, and then I'll go to Councillor Fedorovich.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to second this amendment. While the original motion is commendable, I found parts somewhat strangely worded, as has been discussed. And of course, we're committed to supporting our local farmers, just like we support all of our residents and communities. It also seems to be odd to be specifying plant-based and meat-based in the motion, as I'm fairly sure whatever your diet, food is just food. So the removal of plant and meat-based makes sense to me. The reference to the climate emergency is most welcome because, as those 37 members who completed carbon literacy training know, it is a sad fact that we have to reduce our meat consumption to keep in line with targets to reduce our emissions. With that in mind, though, it's important to consider that the vast majority of our farms in North Northants are arable farms, growing cereals, oilseeds, peas, beans, etc., which are more suited and more profitable to our land. So the majority of the meat consumed in North Northants isn't that local and is imported either from the rest of the country or from around the world. Of course, though, it's so important to shop local, and we should support our local producers and retailers, including butchers, that use our local meat. As Councillor McGee said, of course we love our magnificent countryside, but as he said, that doesn't make sense, that line. How do we ensure their ability? I do hope you can support our amendment, which also removes the oddly worded sentence starting elected members, about opposing insofar unknown government regulation to make the motion more inclusive and make more sense. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Fedorovich, as the mover of the motion, of the amendment, you have the chance of the final word.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just first of all wanted to say that I do actually very much appreciate that a lot of our farmers do already enhance our magnificent countryside and do some blooming amazing work on that as well. So I would actually like to just suggest that that remains in but is remove the ensure bit to and. So more support, promote and encourage their move towards creating a more sustainable produce and their ability to enhance our magnificent countryside, because absolutely we should be supporting, promoting and encouraging that. that. It is brilliant. I mainly took it out because that doesn't really, it's quite hard for us to ensure that and to make that sentence flow a bit better. But yeah, it's a bit long, but that would work. I do recognise that that's a really important point. The whole point of these amendments is actually to create unity on this topic. As we have seen this evening, despite the fact that this wording does not promote plant-based, does not even remotely tell people how to eat, that's not even covered in any of this wording, and most of the people speaking against this amendment have at some point put that in there. That is creating a divide. This is a divisive topic. People do like what they eat. That is the fact of life. We are trying to encourage people towards a more sustainable diet, but that's a party political choice, and that's generally. But if you look at this wording, we are together supporting, promoting, and encouraging our farmers, our move towards sustainable produce, together actually trying to create some unity on this topic. Ultimately, yes, both plant-based and meat-based, then that's saying about what we need to push, but actually we need to create unity on this. We need to come together on this. No one needs to be told how to eat, but there needs to be unity on this topic, that we do need to be supporting our farmers and in some actual feasible, proper way. So I urge you to support this amendment. I urge you to actually put the meat-based, plant-based to the side, because it's not actually about either of those things. It's about sustainability. It's about what we can achieve together and making sure that we're within our planetary boundaries and looking after the land. If we when we're talking about our arable farmers, if they continue to sort of use land in a particular way, it becomes less profitable, it becomes less good for them, and that's something that we need to support them on as well. So it's actually much broader than that, and I really urge you to step back from this and actually let's have some unity on this. Let's have some unity on how we support our farmers, because it's important to everybody. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have clarity on what it is the amendment? Because during her summing up speech, the proposer suggested an adjustment to her amendment. Can I have clarity as to whether or not there was an adjustment, and if so, what exactly it is, or are we voting on the amendment as shown on the display?
Okay. Councillor Fedorovich, can you clarify that point?
Yes, thank you very much. That was to tweak said amendment to take into account the valid points raised. I do listen, I do appreciate what people have said. I generally initially took it out because it didn't make as much sense, and the wording wasn't particularly great. The wording isn't ideal, but I absolutely agree with the last part of it. So to literally take out ensure, leave it exactly in the wording that you can see it, in the order that you can see it on the screen, take out ensure, put and that does make sense.
To an amendment after the debate about the amendment, when everybody who's spoken has been speaking to the original amendment, because it means that all of what we said is invalid because it's the wrong amendment.
That's correct, Councillor Mercer. Absolutely. Yes, so you have to alter your amendment at the start before the debate has happened. So once debate is concluded, you then can't change it. So you would have to vote on this amendment, and then if you want to change it, then you would have to do a further amendment to it as well. Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Fedorovich.
I believe I'm right in saying, though, that if the council agrees that that's possible to change, or that they want that changing, then that could be done.
So the amendment on the screen is the one that members will vote on, and that is the one that they debate. If it is carried, that would become the substantive motion, and there would be the opportunity to make the amendments that you have just suggested, and a further amendment. If it falls, then it goes back to the original motion, and there can be a further amendment on that one as well. But right now, what we can't do is alter the amendment on the screen following the debate.
Okay. With that advice in mind, we will go to the vote on the amendment. If you could all please vote.
The vote has now started. There are 10 seconds remaining.
Okay.
So we're going back to the original.
Yes, okay. The motion, the amendment is not carried, so we go back to the original motion. Do any councillors wish to speak on that? And Councillor Fedorovich. So is Councillor Fedorovich able to speak now on this?
On the original motion.
On the original?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, she needs, I think, her microphone.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to move an amendment to put forward the wording that I just suggested. Thank you.
Okay, do we go to a second?
And unfortunately, it would be the same motion that we've just voted on. You can't take a motion which is substantially the same as the one that you've just voted on into the amendment. So it's just not possible to do that. So we can't have an amendment with the words added into that. If it had passed, we could have then amended it and added to the words. But unfortunately, that would be voting on the same motion that just failed.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Tim Allabone.
Plant-based treaty, which we've talked about, which a lot of people have seen, claiming 35% of emissions globally come from agriculture. In actual fact, that figure isn't correct. It's 25%, but in the UK, it's 11% because we use traditional grass-fed systems and not the intensive ones. Interesting, 11% come from 70% of the UK land that's farmed, which means emissions from just 30% of the land, 89%, which puts things into perspective. So we get rid of all the livestock. What do we do with the grass? We've got 25 million acres of it. It stores 600 million tonnes of carbon, a third of the UK ground stock, and it's also responsible for sequestering 2.4 million tonnes a year. Livestock, I know we've heard arguments about methane from flatulence. You can modify diets. You can use less pulses, tighter stocking rates, and selective breeding for faster live weight gain conversion ratios. Emissions from agriculture, from arable, direct drilling, carbon sequestration again, less fuel, and from fertilisers, they now contain urease inhibitors, which means they won't evaporate into the atmosphere, known as volatilisation, slow release, 80% more efficient. And also the more accurate application by GPS. We use satellites that are 170 miles up, photographing chlorophyll in the leaf. We can use alternative fertilisers. You can use food waste, chicken litter, seaweed, algae, even fire extinguisher waste. Fuels are more difficult because electric isn't suitable. Our combine uses 1,200 litres a day of diesel plus 80 litres of AdBlue. But rather than hydrogen, methane is probably a better long-term solution, but it needs cryogenic tanks to keep liquid methane at minus 162 degrees Celsius. Complexity, therefore cost, although these tractors are being trialled. So the future, well, gene editing. It's not GM, as it's the same species DNA. The ancient Egyptians were doing this 4,000 years ago with barley selection. Gene editing is much faster, and it can also breed varieties that are tolerant to drought, bearing in mind that 78% of the world's water goes to produce crops, and disease, therefore less agrochemicals used. The world needs 50% more food by 2050, but land's being taken out of production. We've lost 36,000 acres since 2010. The USA lost 1.3 million acres in 2021 alone, But globally, agricultural land is being lost at the rate of 2,000 acres a day. It's simply not sustainable. Food security is now a serious issue, especially as 40% of UK farmers are cutting back on production because of lack of profitability, including me. We need freedom of choice, not forced to follow naive and misinformed mantras, and I hope everyone here will support the 567 farms in North Northamptonshire which provide food, landscape, biodiversity, access, renewable energy, water management and soil stewardship. We, are custodians of the countryside, so don't tie our hands behind our backs. Just let us do what we do best by producing the widest range of local food for local people. I support Councillor Brown's motion.
Thank you. Councillor Andy Mercer.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I wanted to speak on this because I have fairly strong views that we need to move to more sustainable production methods. I think everybody in this room would agree with that. We need to also move to more local ones. It's not healthy for food to be transported long distances. It's also very expensive and it generates more CO2, so it's a win-win-win if you can make it more local. But we've had a progressive reduction in the localisation of food production and supply. For instance, there were local abattoirs in many areas, but government regulations have gradually closed them down, made it uneconomic for people to run local ones, and they've switched to centralised larger ones with long distance travel towards them. Now, regulation is a very good idea when it means that you can simply, without complications, produce good quality outcomes. But regulation should not be at the expense of efficiency, quality and health. And I'm afraid in some cases regulation has been there for, how can I put it, for the image side of things rather than for the practical and healthy and safe side. Now, a good example where something went very wrong was BSE, which was mentioned earlier. BSE was caused because the temperature at which food waste was being sterilised was reduced. The prions survived at about 120 degrees, but they didn't at about 140 or 50. When the temperature was reduced, then prions survived through the food chain and we had the BSE problem. Now, in that case, the problem was not that we were doing excessive regulation, I'll admit, it was that the regulation was wrong. The point is, you want your regulation to be focused, accurate and correct. You don't just want to scattergun millions of regulations. I support this motion.
Thank you. Councillor David Brackenbury.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And I congratulate Councillor Brown and Councillor Prentice for bringing this excellent motion. Actually, as with so many of the debates we have in this chamber, Madam Chairman, we are frequently agreeing about the how and disagreeing about the methodology. But I very much welcome the retention of the phrase both plant and meat-based at the end of the second paragraph of the motion. This is partly in response to a number of calls by bodies such as the Plant-Based Treaty and so on and so forth to encourage local authorities to tell their residents how to eat, how to manage their lives. It is a slightly unattractive trait that some authoritarian people in the political system do have, and we do stand for as much freedom of choice as possible. So I absolutely commend the motion, and I absolutely commend the phrase both plant and meat-based at the end of it. Because in the end, what I agree with Councillor Fedorovich about is, of course, that we should be moving to a more sustainable form of food consumption, but that sustainability should not be at the cost of the freedom of choice which we need to promote to the residents of North Northamptonshire and no doubt elsewhere in the country. So thank you, Councillor Brown. Thank you, Councillor Prentice. I think it's an excellent motion, and I do think, oddly enough, that we can see some unity in it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fedorovich.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The motion we now have before us, is it possible to have it back on the screen, actually? Is that all right, Ben? Other councils across the UK have actually done some things really bold. They've said that they're going to have only plant-based food at their own events. For some, that is very few. That's not the case here. We've actually, the amendment that I put forward was to try and create a bit of unity. And I do actually really appreciate, Councillor Bracknbury, the fact that I think you did appreciate that, the fact that you do recognise, a lot of people in this room recognise that we need to move towards sustainable produce. It's not about restricting people's choice. It's about the natural way things are going to go. It's going that way anyway. We don't really have a choice in it. We have to understand how to be more sustainable in all aspects of how we live. What we were trying to do was create some unity, but by not outlining how we're going to support farmers, I think we've really, really caused ourselves a problem. I think I would actually really like to see the motion, which I'll just get up now. I mean, we've put in there a point about electing, thank you very much, elected members now being vocal in opposing excessive regulation. I get the fact that there's a lot of regulation, but like you say, some of that regulation is needed, and I think farmers need to be more vocal about that. But we can't do that as elected members. How are we supposed to do that? We don't have the ability to to identify and know about excessive regulation. We can support farmers to oppose that and support them however we need to. But again, we've just not. We had the opportunity here to create a motion that everybody agreed on, and quite frankly, this has been now made political. This is all about the fact that we've put in, we will promote, encourage and promote people to eat meat. That's what we've said, eat plant and meat. I can't stand behind that. We need to actually be leading by example. Everything that we promote, everything that we do, we were not necessarily saying to people, you have to eat plant-based at council events. We've not even gone down that road. However, if we promote stuff, it's like promoting airline travel or smoking cigarettes. When people start to realise it's actually bad for you, the regulation starts to come in and we start to think about how we're doing what we're doing. We are leaders. If we're going to be promoting meat, I can't stand behind this. We need to be considering people's choice. People can make their own choices, but having that in there, you have now made this a thing to promote meat. That is what you've done. Meat-based doesn't even exist as a term. That's just been put in here. So this is promoting meat. We are agreeing as a council to promote meat. I think I would like a recorded vote because I want to expose you for what you are doing. Absolutely. Let's lay it out there. I tried to be collaborative, and so I would like a recorded vote, please.
Recorded vote, yeah.
Yep.
We need 10 people, don't we?
I'm afraid that there won't be a recorded vote.
Sure.
It's on record.
Okay,
It's on record.
Recorded vote at this point, can't we?
There was a request for a recorded vote, and only 6 members stood.
That there was a request. Can you repeat it, please? Because I certainly didn't hear it. I would have stood.
Okay, for the benefit of members, would anyone like a recorded vote on that motion?
The request was made, and not enough members stood, so I'm afraid we need to move on to the vote now.
Okay, I've got 2 more speakers. Can I bring the 2 speakers in?
Yeah, we can still speak. Yeah, so we've got.
Right.
Yeah, we've still got speakers. Yeah.
Yeah. There are still 2 speakers, so I will go to Councillor Helen Harrison.
Was there a request to go to the vote?
No, they just asked for it to be recorded. Carry on.
Thank you, Chair. I want to explain how I'm going to vote now. Having voted for the amendment, it might be expected that I will then vote against the motion. I will not be voting against the motion. I think it was absolutely the right motion to bring. I think that Councillor Scott Brown is raising a really important issue. The bit that I was particularly concerned about was the tying councillors to speak up against excessive regulation. But thinking about it, it's up to each and every one of us to decide what excessive regulation is. And if we don't think it's excessive, we don't have to speak up about it. If we do, then we do. So I'm content that by voting for this, I'm not forcing my colleagues around this room to do anything specific. I'm voting for them to decide for themselves what is excessive, and they can then be vocal as they choose. So I will be voting for the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, Councillor Hakewell.
Yeah, I just wanted to try and understand, having sat through the debate, where it tells me I can't eat meat and the leader can't engross himself in meat. Where does it actually say with you can't eat meat? I don't understand it.
Let's go to the vote.
Okay.
Oh, no, we need to go back to Councillor Brown.
Yes, yeah. Okay, well, that's the mover of the motion.
Yeah, we need to go back to Councillor Brown as the mover of the motion.
Okay, Councillor Brown, can you give your summing up, please?
I've nothing more to add, just to thank members for an interesting and educational debate. Let's vote.
Okay, thank you. Right, it's been proposed, it's been seconded. We will now move to the vote.
The vote has now started. There are 10 seconds remaining.
Okay, that motion is carried. Thank you. Right. We now move on to motion 3 on the agenda. And can I please ask Councillor Valerie Anslow to move the motion?
I've lost the will to live. I seriously have lost the will to live. I came along this evening having got drenched in Wellingborough, where we were flying the flag for Windrush, really important issue. Rushed over here for a meeting with 3 really important motions, but we've got to 9:30, and I don't think serious time is going to be spent now on my very important motion to do with housing. I'm not saying that motion 1 and 2 weren't important, but I just feel I just want to go home. I don't know about anybody else. My motion is important, and I do understand the hard work that goes into, and I'm looking over here at officers. Pardon? I would like to defer my motion to the next meeting, that it be the first one that can be discussed, so that we can give as much thought and discussion to it as we've given to these last 2.
Okay. Councillor Smithers.
Sorry, it's been proposed that motion 3 be deferred to the next meeting. We just need a seconder, and then if we move to a vote on that.
Okay. Councillor Cahoon seconded it. Okay, let's move to a vote that this motion 3 is deferred to be the first item on the next agenda.
The vote has now started.
Just to be clear, members, it will be the first motion of members. It won't be the first item on the agenda, as we have to deal with substantive items first.
There are 10 seconds remaining.
Okay. That, I think we've got, yeah. That motion is carried. Right. Sorry,
Members,
councillors.
we still have an item left on the agenda.
Yes, we now move to agenda item 9, which is councillors' questions. These were submitted at the last meeting and had to be carried over. So unless any councillor specifically wishes to read out their question, for brevity, I propose that we take the questions and answers already provided to members as read and move straight to the supplementary questions where these are desired. Do I need a seconder? No. Right. Okay.
So you just need to say, please, Councillor McKeon to ask his question, to
Right.
ask the supplementary question.
Councillor McEwen, do you have a supplementary question to your original question?
Yes, Madam Chair. Referring back to about 4 or 5 full councils ago, there was a statement made either by Councillor Lomond or one of his colleagues saying that all ward councillors should be notified anything that's going on within their yard, their ward, sorry. But it seems to be they can't make up their mind what way they're going to answer us. One minute they're saying we're going to get told, the next minute they're saying they can't do it. Could we have a bit of clarification, please?
Okay, Councillor Lorman, do you wish to respond now or provide a written response?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I think the answer here gives us exactly the information that major things are informed, and there are regular information sheets that go out from Keir and ourselves, particularly on TROs, and minor works are not informed. And
okay, thank you. All right, we go on to question 2. Councillor Anslow, would you please, do you have a supplementary to your original question?
Just a short one. Can I be assured that a highways officer will be at the meeting between North Northants, Vistry and Wellingborough Walks Action Group?
Okay, Councillor Brackenbury.
Councillor, thank you very much for the question. I know that extensive discussion is going on between the developers, Vistry, and the action group. And while North Northants Council are involved as the local planning authority, we are keeping a careful eye on this whole situation, and of course will involve our own highways expertise as required. I hope that answer satisfies you.
Thank you. Question 3. Councillor Lee, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you. Yes, Chair. What are the prospects of North Northants Council reaching net zero by 2030 at the current rate of progress? Thank you.
Councillor Pentland.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Lee, for your question. I've had no indication that there is any reason to believe that we wouldn't be. We're making good progress. There are regular progress updates provided to Council, for example, through the Sustainable Communities EAP, which I would welcome other councillors to follow online so that they themselves can see the progress that is being made.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Anslow, do you have a supplementary on question 4?
I would just like you to explain, if possible, what the second paragraph means.
Councillor Brackenbury.
Thank you very much, Councillor Anslow, and I sympathise with the difficulty there. Section 278 are technical aspects surrounding the highways proposals, which form part of an existing planning permission, which has been granted, as I think colleagues in the room pretty much all do know. While the discussions, it is important to point out that discussions between the action group, North Northamptonshire Council as the local planning authority, and as so far as they are concerned, and Vistry are still ongoing, and we will continue to facilitate those discussions. Of course, if the developers wish to come up with an amended scheme, which they may do potentially, then as the local planning authority, it will be our job to pass that to the planners and to see whether that is viable and acceptable in terms of material planning considerations. So thank you, Councillor, for the question.
Thank you. Question 5, Councillor Riley, do you have a supplementary question?
Councillor Riley isn't here.
Oh, right.
Yeah, as Councillor Riley isn't here, the question and answer will be taken as read, and we proceed to the next question.
Okay, thank you. Right, Councillor Riley is also covered under question 6. I think I skipped one.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
That's right. So, okay, we'll move on to question 7. Councillor DL, do you have a supplementary question?
Chair, I've got no supplementary question on 7. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Question 8, we'll skip again. Councillor Riley. Question 9, back to you, Councillor DL.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I do have a question for Councillor Brackenbury. Is that a very long-winded way of just saying 0?
Thank you very much, Councillor DL. It is indeed, at the moment, 0, so that was a fairly short answer. But just to give you a little bit of background context, as of the day before yesterday, 68 people had registered an interest in becoming a new hire vehicle driver, all of whom were contacted with the details of the new testing arrangements and how to book on to the next course, which will be taking place on the 30th of June, and there are 25 allocated places. At the moment, of course, Councillor, I think you'll be aware that existing drivers are currently exempt from taking this test at this stage. And naturally, as this new testing regime beds in, we'll be keeping a close and careful eye on it. So I'm sorry that wasn't quite as short a reply to your supplementary as your question was, but I hope it's satisfactory.
Okay, thank you. Right, we'll stay with Councillor DL for question 10. Do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I do. And my supplementary question is to Councillor Binley. Would Councillor Binley agree to come with myself and the ward councillors to Marlow Court just to clear up a discrepancy between what was written in the newspaper, the article that was written in the newspaper, and the response to the question that I've got this evening, and a letter which was issued to all residents on the 31st of May by North Northamptonshire Council by by a support services manager, which actually says that no consultation was given with the residents of Marlow Court, and apologises for the lack of consultation and says that this was an oversight.
Councillor Binley.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm aware that the contractor did start on site before the authorisation had been given and an agreed start date. And I am also aware that council officers from the Housing Property Services team have apologised to tenants for this. However, as is detailed in the answer to the question, there have been extensive discussions that have gone on.
No.
Excuse me, I'm speaking. And those extensive conversations have gone on with the tenants of Marlow Court. As is detailed in the answer to the question, I've already attended Marlow Court and had those discussions personally with the tenants this year. Of course, I will be happy to pick up offline with the members about concerns and liaise with officers. However, respectfully, of course, there are other sheltered accommodation schemes within Northamptonshire. And whilst we are investing heavily in the schemes through the Sparkle programme, I think, of course, we do have to proportionately look at all areas across Northamptonshire that require the attention and the sheltered accommodation that requires upkeep, especially Corby Borough Council's previous area that had been neglected for so many years and had not been invested in. But as I say, I am happy to pick up with those members offline about having further discussions.
Okay, thank you. Question 11. Can I please see Councillor Lynn Buckingham if he has a supplementary question?
Thank you very much. I get slightly confused when the question wasn't answered correctly. I just asked which budget would it come from, and would they deem that as a Category 1 hazard? And I'm told that any trip hazard isn't a Category 1, which does really surprise me.
What was your question, Councillor Buckingham?
I wonder why he's given the answer that he has, given that, you know, any Category 1 hazard, which if you're not putting down the right, if you're using duct tape to effect a repair, is that a repair?
Okay, Councillor Binley.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I think number one, of course, Councillor Buckingham said something about budgets, and that question hasn't been answered as to which budget it's coming from. I'm looking at the question in front of me. That is not in there. That was not a question that was posed to me as to which budget those repairs would effectively be coming out of. Is it a Category 1 repair? Well, officers have looked at it, Category 1 hazard, sorry. Officers have looked at it and said that it would not be classed as a Category 1 hazard. And I trust the expert opinion of our officers, who are very, very competent working within this council and hard-working. I also hasten to add, being a qualified health and safety professional, that taping that corner of a carpet down that's lifted, etc., is an effective temporary repair. As it's detailed in the answer to the question, it says that it's a temporary repair until a permanent repair can be dealt with. So I think that does adequately answer the question.
Thank you. We'll go on to question 12, and again, Councillor Lynn Buckingham. Do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you. Yes, I do on this one. We're getting reports from residents that apart from being 13 working days outside of target for the backlog, they're waiting longer, 14. So my question to Councillor Binley is, would he meet with my constituent who has been waiting for an answer on housing application for 14 weeks.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Well, crikey, the opposition want me to meet with everybody, don't they, and clearly want me to take on their caseload. I think, unfortunately, the elected members need to continue to deal with their constituents. If they wish to, of course, they can flag these kind of cases up if they are concerned about an irregularity, and our officers will look into it. However, receiving weekly reports, as I do on this area of the business, I am absolutely happy and confident that there are not any cases whereby we have individuals who've been waiting that long. There are cases, for example, that are suspended whereby we are waiting for additional information from applicants, but that is from the applicant's perspective that we are waiting for additional information, not from an NNC perspective. So I am confident that we do not have any cases like that. However, if Councillor Buckingham has got a resident who states that they have been waiting 14 weeks, then of course, by all means, do send the information either across to myself or have the conversation with the Assistant Director, as she has monthly meetings with the Assistant Director. I would have personally thought, rather than waiting 14 weeks, that would have been the forum to have that discussion.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Buckingham, question 13. Do you have a supplementary question?
No, thank you on this one.
Okay, thank you. Question 14. Councillor Kelly Watts.
Chair. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I do. For Councillor Bunday, please. My question was about assigning names to generic emails so that if a member of the public or a group needed to do some chasing up or follow up, they could more easily do so when the email hasn't been responded to. The answer I got was how members should do that. So the question I have is, what is the suggestion for not members, but groups or members of the public to follow up emails on these generic email addresses, please?
Councillor Bunday.
Thank you, Chair. The use of generic email addresses is very, very useful for actually directing inquiries into departments. If those inquiries aren't being handled by those departments, then their directors need to know that. And if they're still not being answered, then we as members need to know that. So I'm quite happy for members to refer it really to the directors, assistant directors, directors in the first instance, and even come to the portfolio holders.
Okay, that completes the questions. There are no urgent items of business on this occasion. So I'll move to close the meeting. Thank you, councillors and officers, for your comments and for your attendance. I now declare